Dave Artell got the boys up for it.
Leading into the game, he said, be brave and have a right go, and the pressure's on them. I mean, for them not in Europe, they had to get, they need to win a trophy, so all the pressure was on them.
Grimsby have a third-round tie with Sheffield Wednesday. The full draw's up at talkSPORT.com. Meanwhile, Ruben Amorim's told talkSPORT his biggest problem is Man United are not improving. Another poor night for Andre Onana isn't his only concern.
But this is a fourth division team. Andre should play just with his feet during this game. It was not that happened. So it's not the goalkeeper. It's more than that. It's everybody.
Meanwhile, out in Belgium.
And to the fans, I have nothing but an apology. I'm really sorry they had to witness that, and it is humiliating. It's really painful.
Russell Martin insists he's still the man to get Rangers going after they lost 9-1 on aggregate to Brugge in Champions League qualifying. West Ham have agreed a fee with Southampton for midfielder Mateus Fernandes. It's 38 million plus 3 in add-ons. Fernandes is having his West Ham medical today. At the US Open, Daniil Medvedev's been fined 31 grand for his racket-smashing meltdown, and Yelena Ostapenka's rejected suggestions she was racist after a fiery post-match exchange with Taylor Townsend.
talkSPORT News.
Higher taxes could be coming in for landlords, and in Ukraine it's reported 3 children were among those killed in Russian attacks overnight. Rebecca has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, we've got your car's inbuilt safety tech covered with expertly trained technicians across the country, so you can drive away happy every time.
Sunshine and scattered showers for most of us, those heavy and thundery at times. Breezy today, especially in the west where it's cooler, warmer in the east.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. So a stunning night for League Two Grimsby, who dumped Manchester United out of the Carabao Cup. But is there now a tone of resignation coming from Amorim? Meantime, Rangers follow Celtic out of the Champions League as they capitulate 6-0 to Club Brugge. Has there been a more humbling week for Scottish football? Also today, we bring you the very latest transfer news. Can European leagues continue to grow by sticking to their roots? Is PSR becoming an easy excuse for clubs falling short? And from midday, we talk boxing with fight pundit Spencer Oliver. As we close in on the sports fight of the century, it's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
It's one of those mornings, Simon, that you think, where the heck do we start? I mean...
Yeah, lots of fodder there, isn't there?
Oh, man alive. So much to get through. Incidentally, coming into the studio, did I hear Gabia Bonlahor say to you, why is it you constantly mispronounce my name?
I call him, Gabia Bonlahor.
Is there any reason for that?
Look at the end of the pronunciation and think what I might be referring to.
And also, I witnessed last night at first hand, because I was right in the middle of it, a text spat between yourself and Sir Rod Stewart.
So Rod Stewart, CBE. Do it properly.
Well, yeah, he sent you a message. Simon got a bit involved. I can't remember what you said yesterday about Celtic and maybe
really.
What Sir Rod had said. Anyway, Sir Rod got back to me and said, I'm going to fire off a text at Simon. He did, not happy with you, although he loves the show, as he continually tells me. He's a great fan of the show. But he had a swipe at you, did you? And then maybe, I don't think I'll be wrong in suggesting you had a swipe back.
Look, I think what it is...
It's all good-humoured.
Yes. As I said to him, he's my mother's favourite pop star. I think what's happened, Rod's obviously got knee deep in recreating all these departed rock stars in AI in front of his screen. And maybe his fevered brow could turn its mind towards recreating Celtic teams of the past to soothe his current malaise.
Oh, dear me. Talking about malaise, Simon, beautifully done. You've segued me perfectly towards this. Grimsby, Manchester United in the Carabao Cup. I watched it last night.
I did too.
Producer Luke and I were texting each other saying, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Can you believe it? Anyway, Grimsby on penalties, and what a marathon penalty shootout that was. Absolutely. They go through, and Ruben Amorim's Manchester United are dumped out. First things first, and let's get this in the right order. Well done to Grimsby. This was their boss, Grimsby manager Dave Artell.
I said to him before the game, part of our game plan, be brave. Be brave. Don't regret not being brave. And if you make a mistake trying to play football, it's on me, not you. And that's how we want to play. That's how we express ourselves. Like I said, we should have scored more goals than the two we did, and that's the disappointing thing from my point of view. It didn't surprise me we played like that. I appreciate against world-class players, you never know. You know, we sat in the game in the office before going, well, you never know, but it's going to be a tough night. It was a tough night. You know, they've got world-class players, and it's a fantastic night for the football club, and I'm still extremely proud of what the players have produced.
Dave, from us all here this morning, well done. Well done to you. Well done to the players and everybody at Grimsby Town. 2-2, and then it goes straight to penalties. 12-11.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about entertainment, Simon.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I mean, I don't think the goalkeeping was of the greatest of standard, but the penalties were fair play to them. I was watching Grimsby thinking eventually they're going to miss, they're going to crack.
Me too.
I mean, it was a pitiful penalty for Mateus Cunha, wasn't it, to be able to seal it. I mean, a player that's got such tickets on himself has a moment to shine and then steps up in against the League Two side and passes it to the goalkeeper. But I'm glad that happened, because I thought that getting out of jail from Man United in that cup tie would have been an injustice on Grimsby and would have papered over the absolute indignation that they deserved to have thrust in their face.
Yeah.
For what ostensibly in the first half was a pitiful performance. I feel sorry for United fans. I very rarely feel sorry for them because they are quite an entitled lot at times. But I felt sorry for those fans that schlepped across the country to watch a group of players that couldn't be bothered in the first half, didn't think it was for them, didn't fancy it, beneath them. And then I listened to a host of pundits talking about formations. I'll pack it in. It's not about formations when you're playing against a League Two football club, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
It's about a desire and ability.
I know a lot of people.
Neither of them were exhibited in the first half.
A lot of people in the media call themselves Manchester United fans. How they can do that, how you can be both, I do not know. It's impossible. You work in the media, you've got to be right down the middle. You've got to be objective. Call it as it is, which is exactly what you do every single morning you're on with me. So, Simon, 56 places and 3 divisions between the two. Was this a night where levels never came to the fore?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's the great tradition of English Cups, which must never be lost.
True.
And these moments in time are such wonderful things that you enjoy them. I mean, and the owner of the football club, I remember him coming on this show a couple of years ago, and I think it was travelling down to an away game that Grimsby had drawn in the Cup and talking about his new ownership of Grimsby and his aspirations. So I was pleased for him. I saw him last night talking about, Eamon Holmes and Usain Bolt and everyone in Guildford who supports Man United. Your boys took a hell of a beating.
Love it.
I'm pretty sure they would like to better draw perhaps in Sheffield Wednesday, but you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely club. I remember going there years and years ago with their old chairman, I think it was Peter Furno, was in situ, and playing a game there when I was at Crystal Palace. So they're a great football club, with great traditions, not a great deal of success, but valuable to the community. So levels are always, at the fore when certain thought processes don't exhibit. And one of them was that Manchester United players didn't fancy the game.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be there. I don't really know what Amorim is talking about. I think he wants to say things, and for whatever reason, he'd rather be cryptic about it. Whatever his players spoke loudly of, it can't be that they don't want to play in this formation. It can only be that certain players that he's given an opportunity to, that have got hooked at half-time, like Ugarte, have been given opportunities and are not stepping up.
Well, to me, there's only one question in town. Should he carry on? But we'll get to that. But Simon, after last season's lowly United showing of 15th, and I still can't get my head around that.
Yeah.
Are we honestly heading for worse this time around? I mean, are there more depths to plummet?
But we've all given lots of passes to managers and talked about the weight of the shirt and talked about the culture of the football club and talked about the expectations of Manchester United and the challenges and clearly the inherent situation that's inside the football club. But I don't know what, I mean, tragically, I found out that Ruben Amorim graduated from the same coaching class as Gabi Abonglaho this morning, so that might explain a few things. But if you've been somewhere for 10 months, it is unfathomable to suggest that the United fans are along with Amorim now, because we're talking about 10 months now. He joined in November of last year, or maybe the very early part of December. His first game was against Ipswich, wasn't it? And we're now talking about a football club that he's been in charge of for 10 months. And there seems to be nothing changed. In fact, there seems to be a deterioration, if that's a possibility. Now, he will say the last 2 games in the Premier League, he says curious things. He talks about the fact that when they played Arsenal, they put a performance in that could beat anyone in the Premier League. Yet you seem to have evaded that you lost.
Yeah.
So you couldn't beat anyone in the Premier League because you just lost to Arsenal.
Right.
And he talks about not being in Europe. He's a strange brew. I don't know what they saw in him in the first place, besides the fantastic record that he had in Portugal. Clearly, he's got something about him, but clearly he's been given an enormous amount of latitude, because this is a car crash in front of your eyes of deterioration and managing people's expectations. I guess the only thing you can think that he's doing is taking people's expectations to such a low level they can now over-deliver.
Right. Well, you talk about Amorim, Simon, and you're not wrong, saying curious things. So post-match, was there a tone of resignation to Ruben Amorim? He was asked what was the most disappointing aspect of the performance.
Everything. The way we start the game, we were not even here. When everything is so important in our club, everything that happened, it's a problem in our club. We should do so much better. So I just have to say sorry to our fans, and I felt my players spoke really loud today what they want.
Can you just elaborate on that? What you mean? Your players spoke very loud on what they
want. It's easy for you. Let's focus on the next game, and then we have the stop for the international games. We will think things through. You cannot change so much. You cannot change everything in one summer, but you need to win games. You need to don't show this kind of performance. I think that this is a little bit the limit. So I think something has to change, but let's focus on in this moment. We need to focus on the weekend, and then we have time to think.
What do you take out of that?
Well, not a lot.
Do you take out of that we're almost at the time now? We're almost at the time now. I don't have any more answers. We're almost there.
Well, I mean, he doesn't bristle in interviews, and that might just be an Iberian style in terms of the way that he operates, and he isn't one of those, albeit that Mourinho's a Portuguese, and he bristled at every opportunity, didn't he? So it's not generic to that particular part of the world that they have a bit more about them in terms of, rather than if that was Ferguson or someone of his ilk, there'd be bristling, there'd be rage, you'd see it, and it's not there. It's a calm, balanced view of what he's not comfortable with. But I don't know how long you can allow it to go on.
It's a defeated view, though, Simon, isn't it? But does that not sound to you like a manager laying the foundations for his own exit?
I don't know. I mean, we heard rumours earlier on in the year, didn't we? And obviously the thing in football, and we've said it 100 times, the two biggest commodities are gossip and money. And one of the rumours was that he'd handed his resignation in and was told to get out the door and get on with the job that he'd taken on. That's all. If that's true, if there's any substance in that, and I don't know if there is, if there's any substance in that, that's the worst thing you can do with somebody is talk them round. Because if you talk somebody round, then you're a hostage to fortune, because you've convinced them to do something they shouldn't need convincing to do. They should want to do it. And then you're in that situation. So if they've done that, they're going to have a challenge. And then you look at the appointments over the last 2 or 3 years, and it was a constant common denominator of failure, or failure to achieve standards that have been achieved previously. And that's the challenge that United have got. They are victims of their own success. They're not allowed to have this impasse where their team is going to be recreated. Ten Hag, by all of us, was criticised, castigated, and all of these managers seem to talk in psychobabble that no one can quite understand. You've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying that Man United don't need to win anything. You've got Ten Hag coming out with stuff that clearly in front of our eyes you'd have to be blind pew to agree with him. And now you've got Ruben Amorim talking about things that we can't understand with no improvements, saying things that his players have spoken loudly. And I don't know anyone that's been able to understand that. That's right up there with the sardines are following the trawler.
Well, that's right. But when we break it down, Simon, and I go with everything you're saying, he says there's one more game, that's this weekend, and then we'll decide. There's an international break, and we'll decide from that. I think he's out of there. Or at least he's got 1 foot out of there.
I mean, possibly. I mean, you never underestimate the gumption of people. I think that to have gotten the job of Man United manager, you have to be dragged out there with your fingernails being scraped across the Old Trafford pitch to want to be leaving that environment, unless you haven't got the chops for it in the first place. So if we're talking about the idea that he's resigned to defeat, then good job, get rid of him quick, because he hasn't got the stomach for it, because it requires real gumption, real stomach, real backbone, real balls and real character to get through this challenge of Man United. And too many of us are making excuses for the culture of Man United. But the problem for Man United is that the scrutiny is so ever present that they're not able to have a bad game, a bad moment, a bad set of situations, because it's always there all the time. And so you can't rebuild. You can't, like when you highlight a new stage show, you take it off Broadway and you let it learn, and then you bring it back to the big theatres. You can't do that with Manchester United. You're straight in the glare of things. But if you've been in a job in any walk of life for 10 months and it appears to be getting worse, and by your own admission, nothing has changed, well, who's the architect of change? How far do you want to take? Now, he's right to say, well, my formations were the same against Arsenal. My formations were the same against Fulham. So why is my formation becoming a question from a journo that was asking him a question? Because they would ask it.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Phil Jones, and I was listening to one of my old players, Joby McAnuff, and they desperately tried to avoid the formation conversation. And Phil Jones talked about the idea that if you don't approach the game and do the basics, then you'll have no right to be in the game.
Yeah.
And there is always this situation where big clubs come down to lesser clubs and they find themselves under-aroused. In the second half, you can't criticise Man United for being under-aroused. They battered Grimsby. They could have been 3 or 4-0 down, absolutely. And you have to look at the quality of what they're doing on the field. But no one can question the second half's performance in terms of desire to get back in the game, because they did pummel Grimsby.
I would ask you if United have ever been aroused under Amorim. But I tell you what, Simon, as we hit the first break...
Yeah, they come on. They played cup games against Arsenal where people thought they'd turned the corner and they won penalty shootouts or whatever they did.
For any length of time?
No, not for a sustained period of time, and that's the problem.
We're going to put it out there to Manchester United fans this morning. Many of you already calling in before I even need to give you the number, and you know the number anyway. 03717 22 33 44 810 89. On Manchester United and Amorim, I'll keep it simple. What now? morning, everybody. Jim White, Simon Jordan, 20 past 10 on this Thursday morning, the morning after the night before, and what a night. Humiliation for Manchester United out of the Carabao Cup at the hands of Grimsby Town. Well done, Grimsby. That is what cup football's all about. Loved every moment of it. Loved every moment of it.
It's fascinating to hear what Man United fans are saying, because one thing that he did was apologise to the Man United fans, Emery, and talked about the support.
Yeah.
And they've given him a hell of a lot of support. But there must be a point in the Man United fans' minds now where they're beginning to question. They're beginning to look at it and say, not quite what we expected.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Suffice to say, Celtic fans got a kicking yesterday, gave the club a kicking yesterday, regards going out the Champions League. And the same thing happened to Rangers last night in a pretty spectacular way. What now for Russell Martin? Rangers play Celtic on Sunday. We'll get to all that. Right now, it's all about Manchester United. What on earth happens next? 15th in the Premier League last season. Almost unthinkable. Almost unthinkable. They lost out on an all-English European final to Tottenham Hotspur. And now this. Weeks into the new season, when Amorim said, watch us go now, they've promptly been knocked out of the Carabao Cup by little Grimsby. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to Grimsby. 56 places and 3 divisions between the two. Honestly, what is going to happen next at this huge football club, Manchester United? Chris is a big United fan who's first through to us. Chris, good morning. Where'd you start?
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon. Thank you for having me on the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
There are no more excuses, in my opinion. I can see potential in Amorim, and he's very honest. And some of his interviews come across, he does skirt around a little bit. But there are no more excuses. So I know he's sticking to his formation. Something isn't working. Is he so dead against not changing the formation, or, for example, last night having to play with the formation and trying something else that may work? Yes, it worked against Arsenal at the first opening game of the season for the first 10, 15 minutes. But then Arsenal quickly adapted, their formation to go up against what's in front of them.
Chris, you saw it last night with your own eyes. You heard Amorim on this show, not that just moments ago. What do you think he meant when he said during that chat, the players spoke loudly tonight?
In my opinion, what I think he's trying to say, without saying it, is that certain players or particular players are just not open to his tactics or his formation. They're digging their heels in. I don't want to play in that formation. I've never played in that formation before. Or they think it doesn't work in the Premier League. Yes, he had a fantastic record at Sporting. It's a completely different league, different style of football. I think he's basically trying to say that the players aren't on board. I mean, you mentioned a minute ago the 15th position last season. I believe it can get worse than that. There's teams around that area last season that have strengthened this season. I mean, West Ham, for example, has signed a midfielder today. They've been crying out for a midfielder like we have. They're making the moves. It can get worse. And, anything he does better than that will look good for him.
Do you think it's a really legitimate conversation to bring the formation in when you're playing against the League Two side? I mean, I get your point of view about formations when you're playing against elite sides, but you surely can't be making an argument on behalf of any dispute or any justification to say the formation isn't working for the players against a League Two side. It can't be that, can it, surely?
No, I can completely agree, Simon. You can't be saying that, and no disrespect to Grimsby, but Manchester United should be beating teams of that, in that league 4, 5, 6-0 as did Brighton last night. The formation doesn't come into it. You've got players, 50, 60, 70 million pound players. They worked out the cost of Benjamin Sesko is 13 years. New turnover.
Yeah.
No, there is no argument.
Chris, you can give me a one-word answer to finish with. After this international break, should he carry on?
I'd say yes. Stick with him and carry on.
Okay, Chris, good call. Thank you for that. Jerry's another United fan who's been waiting patiently. Jerry, good morning. Where do you start in this? Where should it go now?
Good morning, Simon. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
I've been a United fan since the year you were born, Simon. So I agree totally with what the last caller said. It didn't come to me as a shock that Grimsby won. And well done to Grimsby. I don't know what's wrong. I really don't know. But as Simon said, you cannot blame formation or anything else. A total lack of desire. There's something radically missing from United's players. I don't know. Amarin, give him another 6 games, and if we don't get 5 wins, get rid of him. That's it. It's terrible, and things can get worse.
Yeah, that's what Christopher, the previous caller, said, Jerry. It's almost hard to imagine that it can get worse, but you think it can?
Oh, absolutely. Before last season started, I made a post on YouTube or someplace saying that the 24-25 season was going to be really, really bad, and I got laughed at. Now, I am seriously of the opinion that it can get worse. There's no bottom to how bad things can go. We all know that in life. And I think even if we do wind up in the championship, we'll get torn to shreds because we're up against guys who are playing for the short. It's a catastrophe.
Oh boy, Jerry, where are you calling us from this morning?
I'm calling from County Kerry in Ireland.
Beautiful. Jerry, thank you very much indeed for the call.
I don't think it will come to that.
Remarkable.
I mean, what Danny was saying the other day, I think is quite right. Despite the fact they haven't hit the ground running, they've got goals in that side. They've got more potential threat than they have previously. Despite the fact I was disappointed with Cunha last night, Mbeumo will get you goals, Cunha will get you goals, and the boy that they've signed, hopefully, isn't another Rasmus Højlund in disguise. And so they'll get more goals. And if you look at the defensive record last year, the arguments were about United, this, that, and the other. They didn't actually concede that many goals.
Yeah, but listen, here's the thing. As we hit 10:30, and I'll say it now before we get there, I'm not sure if we've got enough time or not. You were so strong about Solskjaer.
Yep.
You were so strong about Ten Hag. And yet you're not quite in there with the fists flying regards Amarin yet.
I am quite strong. I mean, I'm conscious of being formulaic and everyone shouting at barking at the situation and reacting immediately. And I'm conscious of the fact that Ruben Amorim, I've made my observations when I've told him about he's a photo bomber that dropped his resume into every single football club to try and give himself an opportunity, which doesn't feel like the appointments that Man United made in the past. I felt that he's been given a lot of dispensation over the last 6 or 7 months. I also understood the culture of Man United and feel that the architects of it are people like Solskjaer and his predecessors that have left him with a poisoned chalice of cultural deficiencies.
So if you're Jim Ratcliffe this morning, have you got the finger in the button?
Well, I don't. It's very easy. It's like we'll talk about Russell Martin. It's very easy for people from the outside to look in and say what they think the problem is and look at the fact that they're watching a game on Saturday, which is the only thing you can judge it by, and go, that's what I would be doing if I were them. But if you're behind the scenes and you see what's going on and you really understand the bigger picture, then if you know that, you have a responsibility to make the right decision. And if you believe in your man, you have to have the stomach to get past the short-term problems. The only difficulty in this conversation, as opposed to the Russell Martin conversation I'm sure we'll have, is this is potentially not a short-term issue. This is the best part of a year. Now, I accept that in a year, you don't turn ocean liners around that quickly and they don't start winning leagues. But you don't turn out a side that's now getting no better 40 games in and you're still saying pretty much the same things as you said within weeks of being in there.
Exactly. We've yet to start on Russell Martin and Rangers. We'll get there. But we'll stick with United at the moment. 03717 223344.
Manchester United have sunk to a new low under Ruben Amorim, with League Two side Grimsby knocking them out of the Carabao Cup. They lost 12-11 on pens. Mickey Gray slammed the performance, saying it doesn't get any worse.
They deserve all the criticism they're getting today because it just was not good from first minute to last. And I know they clawed their way back and they got themselves back to 2-2, but that just papered over the cracks. It was a terrible performance.
As for the 4th Division team, keeper Christy Pym says Dave Artle was rewarded for telling his players to go and be brave.
Leading into the game, he said, be brave and have a right go. And the pressure's on them. I mean, for them not in Europe, they had to get, they need to win a trophy. So all the pressure was on them.
Grimsby now have a third-round tie with Sheffield Wednesday. Elsewhere in the Carabao, Everton had a decent 2-0 win over Mansfield Town at Hill Dickinson. They go to Wolves in round 3. The full draws up at talkSPORT.com. Now, Russell Martin's apologised to Rangers fans after they lost 6-0. Club Brugge go through to the Champions League proper 9-1 on aggregate. We'll have the reaction to this afternoon's draw on Drive. And at the US Open, Daniel Medvedev's been fined 31 grand for his explosive meltdown. And there was some serious beef between Jelena Ostapenko and Taylor Townsend. After Townsend won, Ostapenko accused Townsend of lacking class for starting the warm-up without her and for not apologising about a netball.
Thursday morning, more European football tonight. Rangers and Celtic both out of the Champions League. Aberdeen very much in the Europa League, albeit they came back from 2 down at Pittodrie last week against the old Soya Bucharest. They're in Bucharest tonight. Can they do it? Dave Cormack, Aberdeen owner, is going to join us. And also on that, with the Old Firm at the moment performing as they are, is this Aberdeen maybe Hearts time, Simon, with the investment from Tony Bloom, £10 million investment? Is it their time to get in amongst the Old Firm, Rangers and Celtic, and rattle them a bit?
Well, certainly with Rangers at the moment. I mean, Celtic are normal form, aren't they, in the Premier League? They're 3 games, 9 points. They're away again.
Business as usual.
So there is an opportunity to finish a noble second if Rangers' malaise continue, but second is still second, isn't it?
It is indeed. Last night, Grimsby Town put Manchester United out of the Carabao Cup at the second round stage, 2-2, and then 12-11 on penalties. It was an epic penalty kick shootout. Of that, there is no doubt. What did Ruben Amorim do during that shootout? He sat in the dugout behind his coaches, staring at his toes and wondering, are we going to get there or are we not? What about the optics, Simon? The optics and the way you present yourself, are they not important when you're manager of Manchester United? What did the fans think? And we'll ask a few of them when they look back at this. What did you think?
Well, I mean, look, you'll have ex-players of a high level tell you that once they've crossed the white line, they don't really pay a lot of attention to the manager and what they do and don't say. Right, except of course when something happens to them on the field and the manager doesn't respond the way that the media or the fans think that a manager should respond, then the players will latch upon that and say, well, we don't get much of an example from our manager. I don't think it really matters. I mean, watching managers jump up and down like lunatics, confronting fourth officials and whatever else, always to me was theatrics and amateur dramatics for the audience and playing to a gallery, not really affecting the outcome of the players. The players get their minds concentrated before the game and at half-time and post the game and during the week, not in watching the histrionics of a manager jumping around like a demented jack-in-the-box.
Yeah, but you're not
in this
looking
instance,
for leadership, encouragement.
Well, it depends what you think leadership looks like. Leadership is in all different guises. Now, do I think the manager in a penalty shootout should be front and centre? Was he front and centre in the team talk prior to the penalties being taken by the players? Was he in the middle of the group? I don't remember watching it, but was he in the middle of the group, talking to the players, telling them what they were going to do, reminding of their responsibilities, and then stepping away? So the rest of the time, are the players? Are you telling me that the players are looking left at the manager in the dugout, paying attention to what he's doing?
You might want to hear from him, though.
What, when you're doing a penalty? When you're in the middle of, hold on. When you're in the middle of the centre circle, waiting to walk up to the 18-yard box, you want to hear from your manager? No, of course you don't. That's us picking at it.
Surely it's an odd look. Jason Burt in the Telegraph this morning. He looked like he was hiding. And how can that be a look that anyone at United is comfortable with? It was, for the United head coach, his Wally with a brawly moment.
Okay, do we know if this is a style that he adopted when he was in Portugal? If it was, and given the fact they were an all-conquering side, pack it in a journalist that's never managed a football team or never been in a position of leadership to understand what that actually involves. It's easy to throw brickbats in from the sidelines. Yes, I agree. In an optics-based world, it is important what you look like.
But you're big on optics.
I'm not big on optics.
You are.
I am not.
I constantly. You hammered Ralph Hasenhüttl. When he got all emotional and he was crying because I thought Southampton managed to beat Klopp's Liverpool.
That's not,
what kind of leader is that? Look at Hasenhüttl. You're big in optics.
That's not optics. That's not optics. That's actions.
All of a sudden, it's all right. That's not. It was hiding behind his coaching staff.
I don't think he was hiding. I think he's disengaged from the whole process. I think perhaps he doesn't like.
Bit of an important process.
Well, I think to him, the embarrassment was already there. I think he'd watched his team be scandalously poor during the game. And there's a part of me that thinks, deep in the recesses of his psychological thinking, we're quite happy if Man United lost that penalty shootout, knowing what was coming his way.
No, nonsense.
Well, think about it.
It was somewhere in his mind he'd have been happy if United went out, which they did.
Think about it. First thing he said, which people can say is magnanimous, and I'm not sitting here trying to be overthinking of things, but he was deeply congratulatory of Grimsby, said the better side won, knew that if United had won that penalty shootout, people would have given those players a pass. It would have been bad day at the office in the second half. United dug themselves out. Perky little team from League Two gave everybody a game, but United came through in a penalty shootout, and everyone would have forgotten about it. Now what happens now is there's no hiding from this. There's no hiding from the fact they got battered in the game in the first half. They were lucky not to be 3 or 4-0 down. They had a goal disallowed that should have been given because Harry Maguire, playing the ball in the way that he did, should have not been given the third goal offside that the fella scored coming in off the post. So with that in mind, they get back in the game. They're fortunate to do that. They get through a penalty shootout and they get away with it. And it creates nothing for him. So there's a part of me that thinks, no, I don't think he'd be wishing it, but I don't think he cared at that point. Right. I think he was so embarrassed by what we'd seen on the pitch that he actually felt this is a terrible injustice. These bunch of cheats that are going to get away with this in this penalty shootout, my players are going to get away with it. So actually, I don't want any part of it.
Bunch of cheats. Is that how you look at the United players?
Well, I think you can't. It's an expression that footballers hate because it's very apt and very appropriate. Yeah. If you turn up in front of fans that have travelled across the country on a wet, windy night on Wednesday to go into a League Two club and put a performance like that in the second half and get embarrassed by a group of players that really and truly should be nowhere near you because they want it more than you, yeah, I think that's cheating.
Let's hear from the most important people this morning. As much as I enjoy listening to you, mind you, I've got no choice. Phil's a big United fan. Phil, good morning. What do you want to say on it?
Good morning, fellas.
Morning, Phil.
I think most of the United fans are a bit blinkered about the situation. United is the last few managers underneath the bus. They can turn up into the big games like they did against Arsenal at the start of the season, and basically they were the better team. I'm a season ticket holder. I was there. But when it comes to, unfortunately, the lesser teams like last night, they didn't want to know from the start. And then you got a captain coming on the field, which in my day would gear them up, get them going like a Brian Robson would, and he was just trotting round. He didn't want to be there, especially when the rain come down. They were all there thinking, oh, I want to get out to the place. They have got no desire to wear that United shirt. We see it week in, week out. It's not the manager's fault. Any formation they can play, they should be able to do.
But it is the manager's fault. You can't just allow him a pass. I don't know why you guys are giving him such latitude. I don't agree with you about Bruno Fernandes. I saw him doing a penalty shootout. He was fully engaged, fully behind the team, trying to score penalties.
What did he do in the game?
Well, he was substitute. First of all, he was a second half substitute. When he came on into the game, there was more energy from Bruno Fernandes and the substitutes that were brought on than the previous players that they replaced. So whilst I take your point that he's not a fist-thumping captain, he's better than what they had.
I do, but I watch him week in, week out. He has been fabulous at playing, but he's first to blame everyone else, even when he's made a mistake. He's not a captain.
Agreed. I agree with you.
He's a player in the team, and I don't know who we could give the captaincy to.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
There's enough leaders on the pitch.
Yeah. Phil, thanks for the call. Lee, take me to 11:15 this Thursday morning. Finish it off for me. You're somewhat more calm about this, aren't you, Lee?
Oh, God, calm down. What's going on? We're 3 games in. If we had a keeper that could keep, we probably wouldn't have lost the Arsenal game. We might have got a draw, and everybody was saying that would be a good result. If Bruno hadn't have missed the penalty, we probably could have won at Fulham, and we could be on 6 points. So just calm down, everybody.
Yeah, but you finished 15th last season.
Yeah, we finished.
You lost an All-English European final in Bilbao.
And
you haven't won a game this season.
Well, let's repackage.
And last night, 56 places.
Well, let's repackage
between the two.
Let's repackage the question to you then. I understand it's quite right to be sanguine about things. What green shoots of recovery are you seeing?
Well, I like the 3 new signings. For a start, they're better than what we had last year. We're 3 games in, so I can't judge anything yet. I've been watching United since 1972, so I'm not one of these glory boys. That
disappointing. Those the two new signings. One of them missed a penalty, or both of them missed penalties that eventually cost you the game.
Harry Kane missed a penalty in a semi-final of a World Cup. So what? And he goes on. He's currently scoring goals in and out. Things happen.
Sure.
You know,
got a track record, though, isn't he?
You made a lot of common sense. What you just said. For me, we haven't got a keeper. We need an outstanding keeper. We haven't got one. We're playing Bruno, who is an 8 in a 6 position. And as long as we keep playing Bruno in a 6, we're never going to get anywhere. His best position is an 8. And so we're trying to put a square peg into a round hole.
You have faith in the manager who's doing that.
I agree. And your manager's got to sort it out. That's what he gets paid to do.
Do you have faith in him, Lee?
I do have faith in him, pay him what he's worth, and make sure he's worth what he's paid. That's what Simon always said.
Indeed.
So let's see what he does over the next 4 or 5 games. We need to move Casemiro back onto the bench. We need an out-and-out athletic midfield. If we had Matic and N'Golo Kanté in there in midfield on the first 3 games, 2 players like that, we wouldn't be having this conversation now.
Yeah, but you don't, Lee. And we know what's happened in the first 3 games. And we know where United are. Not quite rock bottom, but not far off it.
But there's 3 days left. Let's go out and buy some. You know, what's stopping us?
Lee, when that happens, you'll be the first to know, my man. Thank you so much for the call. Thanks to all the United fans who've been calling in. A lot to get through on this busy Thursday morning. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Nice crashed out of the Champions League last night. They lost 6-0 in Belgium up against Club Brugge. They went out 9-1 on aggregate. We'll get to that, and we'll take some Rangers calls the other side of 11 o'clock. But remember, transfer deadline day is Monday. The window closes at 7 in the evening. Myself, Alex Crook, Danny Murphy will take you through the deadline and beyond, live right here on talkSPORT. Alex Crook has been doing such work in this window, and he hasn't stopped yet. Alex joins us live. Alex, good morning to you. What's your top story this morning?
Good morning. Well, I think it has to be the latest on Christopher Nkunku and Chelsea. We've known for a while now that Chelsea have been trying to move him on. A fee has been agreed in the last few moments, as we touted yesterday, actually, on the talkSPORT website. £36 million with AC Milan. That's what they're willing to pay. And Nkunku has been given permission to fly over to Italy and undergo a medical. It's not done yet because I think Nkunku still has to agree to take a salary reduction. But if this does get over the line, then I would expect Chelsea to step up their interest in the likes of Alejandro Garnacho and Xavi Simons, who we're going to talk about in this section as well. And then I think focus will turn to getting Nicholas Jackson off the payroll between now and Monday.
And probably could be the first of a few exits at Stamford Bridge, Alex, right?
Absolutely. There's been a lot of talk about Manchester United's so-called bomb squad this summer. Chelsea have got one of their own, and it includes quite a few experienced England internationals, the likes of Ben Chilwell and Raheem Sterling. I reported a couple of weeks ago 3 London clubs interested in Sterling: Fulham, Crystal Palace and West Ham. Of course, he played under Graham Potter at Chelsea. My understanding is that their relationship remains strong. I can see the attraction with a move to Fulham along the King's Road and the chance to go and play for Marco Silva. There has also been a suggestion that 1 or 2 Turkish clubs and those in Saudi Arabia are interested in Raheem Sterling, but I think his preference is to stay in the Premier League and to stay in London. I'm going to be fascinated, Jim, to see the makeup of this deal, because you'll remember well, we were on last deadline day, this time last year, and that Raheem Sterling deal to Arsenal came out of nowhere on the very afternoon the window was going to close, and that was because Chelsea ended up paying the bulk of his salary. I wonder if they might have to do the same again.
Okay, you mentioned Graham Potter. These days at West Ham, are they getting anybody in? They're close to something now, are they?
Yeah, they are, and I think it's a key area of the pitch for West Ham. To me, they've had legs in midfield for a while now, certainly at the start of this season, which has been obviously really poor for West Ham. They've got the boy Magassa coming in from Monaco. We spoke about him yesterday. But more significantly for me, a fee now agreed with Southampton for Mateus Fernandes, £38 million up front, £4 million in add-ons. He's already in London undergoing his medical. This is a very talented player, one of the shining lights for Southampton last season. There weren't many, it should be said. Did really well in Portugal under one Ruben Amorim at Sporting before that. So I think this could be a very decent signing for West Ham in an area where they are really short.
Alex, bringing us that news, Simon. I mean, having said that, it won't get the critics off David Sullivan's back, will it? 38 million plus another 2. So
well, you've got to be
40 million plus.
Well, I think David Sullivan is cut from a particular cloth. He's quite hard-faced about it, and he'll be hard-faced about this. And he's not. His job is not to be popular with the fans. His job is to ensure that the football club is operating at a level of success that maintains what he wants through it, in the same way as trying to achieve it for the fans. He won't be bothered. I promise you, with Sullivan, he won't be bothered what a group of West Ham fans say about him.
Yeah. Alex, what are we hearing about Tottenham trying to hijack some of the business Chelsea are trying to do?
Well, they've still got a big hole, haven't they, in the form of a number 10. James Maddison is going to miss most of the season injured. They tried for Morgan Gibbs-White. Obviously, that one didn't happen. They tried for Eberechi Eze. That was really close. They agreed a fee with Palace, personal terms in place, and then Arsenal came in and stole him away. They're now trying to do that to Chelsea. Xavi Simons, who I've mentioned already this morning, someone that Chelsea have been on the trail of for a while. He's been given permission by RB Leipzig to fly to London to, in their words, discuss his future. And I think he's going to hold discussions not just with Chelsea, but with Tottenham as well. 65 million euros is the magic number as far as Leipzig are concerned. So now Nkunku is off the payroll, I think Chelsea are very much still there when it comes to Xavi Simons, and it might be up to him which of those London rivals he wants to join.
This is one, I mean, Alex, it's interesting, Simon, this is one Daniel Levy really wants to win, isn't it? Because they made a move, a big one for Morgan Gibbs-White, didn't get him out of Forest. And more recently, of course, we know what happened with Eberechi Eze. So they want to get hold of this boy, Simons, and nail it down.
They wanted to get hold of Eze. You know, they wanted to get hold of Gibbs-White.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no lack of wanting to get things done. But like most things...
He's got to land one.
Absolutely, and we're in an outcome business. But I mean, Daniel will be pragmatic about the way that he does things. He's not going to change. There's nothing about Daniel Levy that's going to change. He's not going to change the way he does business. He's not going to change the fact that all of a sudden, because he didn't land this player or he didn't land that player, I think he's got a manager in place that he likes and would work with quite well. I think Thomas Frank is going to make that step up between getting a certain player at Brentford that he's used to getting different players at Tottenham. The interesting thing in their relationship is when Thomas Frank stops thinking like a Brentford manager and starts thinking like a Tottenham manager or managing a Big Six football club, supposedly, and starts to demand things of his owner rather than go, oh, well, we tried. Okay, well, I'm used to not getting big players.
Alex, you want to finish on Garnacho? Is this happening? Is he out of United?
Well, it certainly looks that way. Although maybe some Manchester United fans this morning will be thinking Garnacho should stay and maybe more spotlight should be on the manager. But obviously that relationship broke down at the end of last season. Chelsea have always been there lurking in the background. United's asking price throughout this summer window has been as high as £50 million. We were told last night by sources close to Chelsea, they think a deal can be done for nearer £35 million with add-ons. And that seems cheap, doesn't it, for a player who at one stage under Eric Ten Hag was very much a key man for Manchester United. It will be 100% profit in terms of PSR for United. It's another one of those players that Amorim doesn't want that's going out the door. But I think there'll be disappointment amongst the fan base if he goes for as little as £35 million when you look at some of the fees that have been splashed out already this summer by Premier League clubs.
That should be the least of their concerns, Man United fans, how much they do and don't get for a player. Garnacho's a little runt, isn't he? Running around with an attitude that I would be glad to see the back of if I was a Man United fan. I mean, wanting to be cheered but not celebrated because the fans didn't celebrate him. We got all upset about that. And running around with Aston Villa shirts on, poking his nose up at the Rashford situation.
Yeah, but Chelsea, the people at the top at Chelsea are no mugs. They must see something in him.
Well, yeah, I guess they must do. They saw something in Jadon Sancho as well. They couldn't get him back fast enough, could they?
He's on one this morning, Alex, as you might gather. Alex, looking forward to working with you on Monday. Alex back tomorrow, though, between 10 and 1 live in talkSPORT. And as I say, transfer deadline day itself, Monday. The window closes at 7 this time around. I always worked really late at Sky, and of course you had no sympathy whatsoever for me doing that. Myself, Alex, and Danny Murphy, who was magnificent in this show yesterday.
It was very good.
We'll take you through the deadline, beyond it as well, all live on talkSPORT. We come on up to 11 o'clock this Thursday morning.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Score a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at just coming up to 11 a.m, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Grimsby Town goalkeeper Christy Pims told talkSPORT he's disappointed they didn't beat Man United inside 90 minutes.
I think we should have probably put it to bed early, like you said. Not just the disallowed goal. We had quite a decent chance 5 minutes after half-time where Darwin maybe should have put the game to bed then as well.
Grimsby eventually won 12-11 on penalties to knock Man United out the League Cup. Ruben Amorim's apologised for his side looking totally lost. For Simon Jordan, Man United have shown flashes under Amorim, but just haven't been able to put any sort of run together.
The problem for Man United is that the scrutiny is so ever present that they're not able to have a bad game, a bad moment, a bad set of situations, because it's always there all the time.
Burnley go to Old Trafford on Saturday. West Ham fans' help is on the way. The club's agreed a fee with Southampton for midfielder Mateus Fernandes. It's 38 million plus 3 in add-ons, while Chelsea's Christopher Nkunku is close to a move to Milan for £36.2 million. That would be a 5-year deal. The Champions League final has been brought forward by 3 hours from this season. It will kick off now at 5 p.m. UK time. UEFA say that will benefit fans, teams and host cities. Aaron Ramsey's been left out of the Wales squad for their World Cup qualifier in Kazakhstan. Ramsey is coming back from hamstring surgery. And at the US Open, there's some serious beef between Yelena Ostapenko and Taylor Townsend.
I feel like people have gotten a little bit soft. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's sports. Like, people talk trash. You know, people say things, whatever. People get mad. Like, everyone has a right to feel how they feel. You know, the problem is like, don't push your expectations on me.
Ostapenko lost the match, then accused Townsend of lacking class for starting the warm-up without her and not apologising about a netball. More on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Landlords could soon be made to pay more tax, and 3 children are reported to be among those killed in Russian attacks overnight. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With our wide range of services on offer, including tyres, MOTs, servicing and brakes, you can drive away happy every time.
Sunshine and scattered showers for most of us. Heavy and thundery at times. Breezy today, especially in the west where it's cooler, warmer in the east.
Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT. Many people getting in touch saying you're doing your usual boxing hour at 12. We are indeed. And I know that's popular with fight fans all around the country when Mr. Jordan, Spencer Oliver and others lock horns. So, yes, we will talk boxing. We'll be going down under, actually, to speak to a bare-knuckle fighter who, Simon, very soon is going to be taking on one James DeGale.
Chunky.
James DeGale back on the scene. I thought we'd seen the last of James. Thoroughly nice gent, but no, we haven't. So we are going to be hearing from the Aussie who is going in to take on James DeGale.
Paulie Malignaggi's doing that as well, isn't he?
Paulie Malignaggi, yeah,
he's doing that as well.
Now, there's a fellow who says what he means and means
he does
indeed.
Does he
not?
Yeah. He says it with aplomb as well.
I reckon the Rangers fans who come to air with us this morning will be in exactly that category. You will be in a mood to say what you mean and mean what you say. Because last night, Rangers in Europe, of course, clinging on by their very fingernails in an attempt to stay in the Champions League. 3-1 down from the first leg against Club Brugge at Ibrox. They went to Belgium, slim hopes of doing anything, and they did nothing. They collapsed in the opening moments of the game and went on to lose the game 6-0 to Club Brugge. So off the back of Celtic going out over in Kazakhstan, now Rangers have joined them. And it couldn't really get any worse for Russell Martin, or could it? This was Martin post-match.
I don't think we've learned anything new tonight. Just really hurt, really embarrassed by the defeat. It's probably the toughest night I've had as a head coach and manager. But yeah, it doesn't change the fact that I think we can get this place going, we can get the team going, and as I said, progress and move forward and grow. And we have an opportunity to really do that, to feel everything tonight that comes our way and to accept it, because we have to, with the manner of defeat. And then we have a chance to really show some character and some growth and some personality and desire on Sunday.
You can hear it in his voice, can't you? It remains 3 wins in 10 for Russell Martin at Rangers. This was the joint heaviest defeat in 153 years of Ibrox history. And Rangers were already 5 down at half-time. Max Aarons was sent off after only 8 minutes. 9-1, they went out on aggregate. Off the back of Celtic, and Celtic, of course, went out on penalties.
The whimper, yeah.
Off the back of that, has there been a more humbling week for Scottish football?
Well, Celtic got beat 7-1 last year by Borussia Dortmund, didn't they? So it exists. It's a bad result. In isolation, a player being sent off doesn't help. I think his players let him down badly. In terms of some of their appetite, and some of the defending was just totally disengaged. Everyone seems to have felt that Club Brugge were an opposition that could be overcome by Rangers, but most people that knew didn't think they would. They thought the Club Brugge were a decent Champions League side that had got decent results in previous seasons against Atalanta and Aston Villa, so they weren't there really for Rangers to beat. The challenge for Russell has been there.
9-1 in aggregate.
I know. But Celtic got beat 7-1 by Dortmund and bounced back and then went on to win the league. And everyone seems to have forgotten that. And Brendan spun out a yarn about how well they did in the Champions League because they got knocked out at the same stage they do every bleeding year because they had a couple of decent results for a change. The fact of the matter is that Russell Martin, I think, the ownership has got to be steady in its thinking, because the background noise is the background noise. They either know why they employed him, they either still see the reasons why they employed him. They've got to hold fast. It's not their job to back down to the mob. It's not their job to back down to the screaming audience. It's their job to do what's right for the football club. And what's right now may well be that Russell Martin isn't fit for the purpose, but only they know that. And I know that the results are not great. I know that getting a 6-0 tonking, is an appalling outcome. It's not helped by a player being sent off. He does have that in the locker in terms of ultimately it's dissuaded the whole game plan. The 3 games in the league are the ones that are doing for him. They really are doing for him in terms of the league form, because 3 draws in a row for Rangers doesn't help his case. He did well against Panathinaikos. I don't care about the style of play. He's trying to change the style of play. He's trying to get the players to adopt to it. It cannot be achieved in 10 games. It cannot be. And if we've really reached a point, really honestly reached a point where a man that's going into a football club doesn't get more than 10 games to change the direction of travel, to be able to implement his ideas, to be able to get players to change the way they're thinking, then people are foolish. And the 49ers know what they employed him for and can still see it. Russell's got to get his shoulders back and his chest out. He's got the brickbats being thrown at him. There's accusations, I think, even our own producer thinks he's a bluffer. I don't think he is. I think I saw him carry Southampton out of a division when they were in the Championship a couple of years ago, and they weren't great with Southampton. But there's a lot about Russell Martin that's good. I think Danny Murphy, not that Danny Murphy is a blueprint for everything, but Danny Murphy spent time with him and changed his view on him as a football operator. If they're going to fire him after 10 games, I think it's foolish, unless he really is a charlatan and the 49ers go, that's not what we thought. This is not the man we employed. He isn't what we thought he was going to be. Got a great interview face on.
I've nothing against Russell personally, of course. I don't know him. But when the Rangers fans this early repeatedly chant for his sacking...
But that's wrong.
There's a banner, if you're watching on YouTube and your smart TV, hanging outside the gate at Ibrox in Govan, in the south side of the city. Get them out now, before the seats are empty.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that this morning.
There's uproar.
There is, but there was the die had been cast before he even walked in the door. There was a significant section of the Rangers fan base that were completely unaroused by this appointment and had no truck with it. We've created we being the global media have created a narrative around Russell Martin that he only plays one way and that he wasn't able to pivot. And he was right to have that accusation laid against him at the time with Southampton. But we don't know whether he's changed or not. He's walked in there, he's trying to implement change into a football club. And if you're seriously telling me that 10 games is all he gets, then Rangers will get what they deserve, which is the next manager suffering from the same malaise. It is understandable that the fans are frustrated. It is understandable and quite right within their gift as emotionally invested people, and because the game survives on emotion, to express their views. It is the job of an owner to step back from that, not be swayed by it, not double down because you made the appointment, but to know why you've got him there. And if you believe the reasons why you've got him there are still the same reasons, you must stand firm in the face of what people are saying.
David is a Rangers fan. I'm coming your way, David. Give me 30 seconds. I want to do this with Simon before we do it. You've been in this position umpteen times as an owner.
Not with a scale of club like Rangers.
Right, but here's,
I understand that.
All right, here's the deal. Russell Martin sitting opposite you. 9-1 in aggregate last night. You're gone out the Champions League.
Yeah.
Celtic on Sunday coming to pay you a visit.
Well, you're going to see it, aren't you?
What are you going to say to Russell in a few sentences this morning?
Well, I shouldn't need much to say to him, should I? And Russell needs to be a self-starter. I shouldn't need to be saying much to him. He should be saying something to me rather than me saying something to him.
What do you want to hear from him?
Of course I would be supportive of him. And I remember it's a very well-trodden path I've done 100 times before. When Warnock was in situ, we got smashed to pieces 4-0 by Doncaster Rovers or Scunthorpe. We'd just been relegated from the Premier League or something of that nature. And my first response to Neil Warnock was, I should be right by that performance. And the reason why I'm not is because I got you. Because I believed in him. So I would be giving that exhibition to my manager if I believed in him. And if the 49ers don't believe in Russell Martin after 10 games, then they're weak too. Unless he's a charlatan and sold them an interview face, and when they've got him in the door, he's a complete polar opposite of what he said he was going to be. But I don't think he is.
Right, from distance, you don't think he is?
No, I don't.
At the moment, you're saying, I'm going with you.
Listen, I am guilty of... I mean, I thought Dowie worked wonders for us when he took us from the bottom of the Championship into the Premier League in the first season, but he was a one-trick pony. So you can make mistakes, and when he came on top, he couldn't do it, right? But the fact of the matter is, I think there's more legs in Russell Martin than 10 games. And for the sanity of football, and for the sanity, you can't constantly say that football needs fans' involvement. Fans want security of tenure. Fans want their football clubs to be run properly, and then cave into a baying mob because 10 games have passed and they've not been good enough. You've got to give this guy his head, and it can't be 10 games, surely.
David, Rangers fan, good morning. Do you want to see him given more time?
Morning, Jim. Morning, Simon. Just the comments on it, Simon. I can see to a certain degree your point. You're saying the 10 games and what have you. But if I can put it into context, you know, you're talking about the Manchester United situation, you know, where these people have to hit the ground running and what have you. Well, in Scotland, in Glasgow Rangers, you have to hit the ground running. We've had some really lean years. Now, we've got the big takeover there. The money was given. He was given a lot more money than a hell of a lot of Rangers managers previously. He's brought in these signings, and the style of football is dire. Max Aarons, I fail to understand how that boy even got a game at Premiership level because he's absolutely dreadful. He's making decisions. Picking that team last night, yes, okay, Desert wasn't 100% fit. He should have started. Tavernier, not the greatest right-back defensively Rangers have ever had, but he's an improvement on Max Aarons. Nico Raskin sitting on the bench for whatever reason, which we still don't know. And then to come out, the press conferences after these dire performances is absolutely soul-destroying for Rangers supporters and anybody who knows what the Scottish game's about.
So what do you think? So why do you think the 49ers that came in, took the club over, they made a big announcement? I wasn't particularly enamoured with the announcement because 20 million is not a huge announcement for Rangers. It's a big football club. You've not got governed by PSR. They can spend what they want, and they've got plenty of money. So if they brought Russell Martin in, they must have seen something from him. Do you believe he sold them a pup from the outset and they're naive and wet behind the ears and brought someone in that sold them a song and that can't deliver it? Or is there something missing from the opportunities that he's trying to create for himself?
Well, to be honest with you, Simon, I have to take it back to the Southampton thing as well, because it was exactly the same there. They've brought him in on the back of, I can only think that he's managed within the Premier League. He's went in and done the interview, and I don't know, he must have had some help from some guru from somewhere.
Did you see him in the Championship, though? Because I based my opinion upon seeing him in the Championship, and I saw him manage that Southampton team and drag them up by their bootstraps and divide the perceived favourites, which is Leeds, and take them through the playoffs.
Was a Championship manager good enough for Rangers?
But with respect, there is a standard that some could argue that Rangers and Celtic
you
are
said
at
moments
Championship
ago,
level.
this is Rangers.
I talk about the scale of the club and expectation.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course I do. I think it's an enormous football club, but it doesn't operate on enormous budgets, does it? It doesn't buy enormous players, does it?
David, in a word, should Russell Martin carry on, yes or no?
Absolutely not, Jim.
Okay. David, thank you for that. Dean's another Rangers fan. So many Rangers fans queuing up to get on. Dean, what do you want to say? Good morning.
Good morning. I have to disagree again with Simon. I generally do agree with everything that he says, or most of the things that he says, but this morning I couldn't believe what I was listening to. The players let him down. He's also letting the players down. Russell Martin was a centre-half as a professional footballer. We can't defend a cross. We can't defend a set piece. He's brought in guys from the Championship. He's brought in guys from lower leagues in England. And Ali McCoy said it in commentary last night. They look like wee boys. It was like wee boys trying to play football last night. He was going to make. He brought in Max Aarons. If he was always going to be the first choice right back when they brought in a left back, why is James Tavernier still the captain at Rangers?
So you don't think they're making the right decisions? You question the decision-making, Dean?
It's the decision-making. Bringing in the players, if you're bringing in players, fine. But the quality and the standard of players that they're bringing in clearly aren't there.
Dean, if Rangers beat Celtic on Sunday, does that shift your position on Russell Martin?
No. I wouldn't have him in the dugout on Sunday. Not a chance.
Do you think then that the 49ers are culpable because do you think they've given him autonomy over who he signs? Do you think they've had no investment, no conversation whatsoever?
I think they've had their pants pulled down by him and the other two, Thelwell and I can't remember the other boy's name.
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
I think between the three of them, if so quickly Russell Martin came out last night and said, "Oh, my job's still safe," he was sniggering away when he's having his press conferences as if he tried to pick fights with fans on Sunday in his interview, saying he's not really bothered about the fans. Well, he'll be bothered now, and the 49ers will soon be bothered when people don't start turning up.
So is this a must-win for Russell Martin on Sunday against Celtic?
An Old Firm is always a must-win.
Yeah.
It's always a must-win game. But it's not about it shouldn't be about Russell Martin. Rangers have to win the game on Sunday if they want to have any chance of salvaging anything. But if he's still the manager on Sunday and Rangers lose on Sunday, things will get very toxic very quickly. And if they think it's bad now, it'll be a lot worse come Sunday night.
Dean, okay, thanks for the call. Many Rangers fans getting in touch. Rangers not with their problems to seek. Nor Celtic, of course. The two meet on Sunday at Ibrox. We are live this Thursday morning on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Business Briefing on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle as a Pilates instructor? Stretch your budget with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big three networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
Well, you got a big clue there, didn't you? Time for us to round up one of football's top business stories with Tesco Mobile for Business. And this morning, Simon, I'm going to talk about, I'm raising it again, and everybody must be sick of the three letters. PSR. PSR. Interesting what Unai Emery has been saying at Aston Villa, and he's just one of a number of people who have been saying it. Let's look at it from a Villa point of view. A goalless draw against Newcastle, followed by a 1-0 defeat to Brentford. Unai Emery wants signings at the football club, but the club is under PSR pressure. Profit and sustainability rules. We all know what it means now. We can't compete because of it. That's basically the message coming out. Emery called on a change in the PSR rules in programme notes in the last match. We cannot avoid that the summer has been challenging because the financial rules were conditioning our investment in the squad. Financial control rules came into football to avoid bankruptcies and payment defaults with a good purpose. But as professionals, we should review it, as this good tool will become a limitation for clubs that are doing good management, who will never be able to be allowed to dream and get higher goals because the revenue, key for these financial rules, needs time to come to reality after sporting success. What is he being there, defeatist, or is he being a realist?
Well, he's being a typical football manager, which is explaining away some of his own shortcomings, which is ultimately coaching players to do better and developing players and enhancing them and not have to have a butter mountain of endless supply of players to make your life easier. There is a school of thought which says sometimes you have to work with what you've got. But if no one else is, and the teams that he's trying to emulate don't have to abide by that rule, then it becomes a completely disadvantaged position for him. What is the purpose of PSR? We all know what the white label product was to avoid bankruptcies. Well, with due respect, what happens further down the pyramid to Reading and to Orient and to Bury, whilst a tragedy in their own right, I've got bugger all to do with the Premier League. The Premier League, most of the time, is an unprecedented success. It's built its global interest. It's opened its marketplace up. It's made it an investable product. It's bought the best players in the world, the best managers in the world. It doesn't have much of a problem, seemingly. So what is it that we're fixing? What is the purpose of profit under the profit and sustainability? Is it to reinvest back into players, or is it to put into the hands of shareholders? What does sustainability mean? I'd like someone to explain what sustainability means to me in a football club, because I think sustainability...
What does it mean to you?
Well, it's relevant to the circumstances that you're in. I would imagine, just a little clue here, that having a sovereign wealth fund like the PIF fund behind you gives you an indication that you might just be sustainable, right? Because your owners have got plenty of money.
To the tune
right?
of a few billion.
So this idea that all of a sudden you start to shut down what it was badged up as... What I liked about financial fair play, as it was originally denoted, was it might just reduce the inflation of transfer fees. It might just stop the train going down the tracks any further on player wages. It did neither. What it's done is it's allowed the cabal that like PSR, that are in the place where others want to get to stay there. So if you're Daniel Levy, and if you're Liverpool, and if you're Manchester United, albeit they're a car crash, but notwithstanding that they're in a protected position, and if you're Arsenal, and if you're now Manchester City and Chelsea, you are very happy that no other bugger can do what you did, which is spend what you want or have a legacy football club that over the history of its time has been able to be successful, build up a relationship, has got revenue streams backed upon its historic success. If you're Newcastle United now, or Aston Villa...
You can forget it.
What choice have you got?
Right.
You cannot... How are you going to get your turnover up to £750 million a season, albeit small business in the great scale of big business terms, but in football terms, quite a significant number? How are you going to do that? Because you can't buy the best players because you're restricted to by PSR. So the only way you can get your revenues up is by having a winning team. The only way you can have a winning team is by the best players. The only way you can have the best players is by having the revenue. The only way you can have the revenue is by buying the best players. And if you can't buy the best players because you're restricted by it, what is it you've actually achieved? If we want to worry about the other 72 clubs in the wasteland of the EFL, right, and the challenges they've got, attend to that and find a solution to that. But if we're talking about the Premier League and we're talking about the elite football league in the world that's been open for business for 25 years, which is a resounding success, I know Let's bring an independent regulator in because lower league clubs are the clown college and don't really understand the ramifications of it. And of course, you're going to get teams like Mansfield coming on here saying, we want an independent regulator.
Yeah.
Because I listened to those sort of guys in Football League meetings years and years ago. So with respect, I understand why they say it. But when you're looking at the Premier League, so let's work it. We've got a resounding success. Let's bring a regulator in to compromise the Premier League. Let's bring in PSR governance to turn it into a selling league because we can no longer afford clubs to buy players anymore. And by the way, let's get some politicians involved so we can do some free-to-air stuff and give the broadcasting rights away for nothing.
Right, but hang on a second.
It's laughable, Jim.
Unai Emery.
Laughable.
And I know where you're going with it, but
He's right.
You want it changed.
He's right.
Unai Emery says review it.
Get rid of it.
What does reviewing it look like?
Get rid of it. It'll be the death knell of English football. I'm telling you now, watch this space. If they do not review the policies that they've got in place that's strangling the game, that's making it all about the best industry to be involved in around football now is the legal industry because of the ramifications of PSR. If they do not, you will drive these American-owned football clubs into the Super League as sure as day follows night because they will not be restricted by ridiculousness.
Yeah,
by
but
the
then
nature.
you go to the Wild West as well. Then you go back to the days of Roman Abramovich.
What was Wild West about that?
What? You constantly say he spent money like a drunken sailor.
Yeah, and that's his choice. But what did I also say about Todd Bowley? Why is it everyone else is so offended? Everyone used to listen to, they expect £1 billion. It's his money. What's it got to do with us? We used to sit in this studio, I used to say constantly, you heard me say it, why is everybody so offended about the profligacy of Chelsea? It's not their money. The fact of the matter is, if we're worried about sustainability, because we've had a few examples over the years where situations have been badly handled, but on the whole, 99% of Premier League football clubs have had no issues. There's been a few issues, Portsmouth, because of bad ownership, which is now pretty much being eradicated by the governance that's already in place of football and doesn't need a regulator to do it. What is it you think you're achieving?
Right, let me summarise this.
Nonsense it is. It's
You're saying
silly, not grown up thinking at all.
PSR, don't just review it, scrap it.
Of course.
So we scrap it. What do you replace it with? You're saying nothing. Let it be a free-for-all again.
Well, you mean a competitive marketplace? You mean
spend what you want. Spend what you want when you like.
So what other industry restricts the amount of money that people can spend? Why does football have to restrict it? Why is football, that's a roaring success, and the Premier League, that's an absolute blueprint for what everyone else is trying to emulate, so much so that all the other leagues that go around the world have got to get their bags like glorified Harlem Globetrotters and hawk their muttons around the world to try and get some revenue. What is it we think we're fixing?
Well, will you not end up with a whole bunch of nation states owning football clubs?
Well, if you want
to be throwing money good after bad.
If you want to restrict who owns your football clubs, that's a different discussion. If you don't think that it's appropriate for nation states to own your football clubs, then that's a different discussion. If you think it's appropriate for private equity players or hedge funds, or if you think it should just simply be the cook, the candlestick maker, and the baker from the local town, right, or whatever you think it is, it doesn't mean that people should be restricted from spending. There should be some insulation, some grown-up thinking about how you protect the well-being of a football club. But notwithstanding that, you should not be restricting its ability to be able to reach the level that it can reach based upon the commerciality of the opportunity. And what about seed capital? Sometimes, do you know what? Facebook lost hundreds of millions of pounds for years until it eventually reached the seed capital that was in place to be able to be a business that's so significant. What's wrong with investing in business for a very long period of time until they get to the point where they're very successful, both on the field and off the field? What's wrong with that? Who determines how long that takes? Who determines how long a business plan for an owner is? I might want to invest I might be prepared to take losses for 10 years because I've got very deep pockets on the back of the fact that I'm building a very significant proposition for a whole raft of different reasons.
There's Matt, the Tottenham fan. Is this the answer, Simon? Cancel PSR completely so clubs like Newcastle can spend like Chelsea and City did over the last 20 years? That can't be right, can it?
But the football, the genie's out of the bottle. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Money drives the factor. We can't control player wages. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see player wages controlled. I'd love to see the dynamics of what's happened in the industry be reversed. But it's not going to be. So why would Nottingham Forest come up from the Championship, whatever you think of Marinakis or whatever you don't think of him, and have to carry losses that are less than every other bugger in the Premier League and be disadvantaged by it? And then because the man's got some ambition that wants to compete with those that are already there, he gets restricted. How can that be right? Oh, because it's a game that belongs to the people and socialism rules okay. It's nonsense.
Yeah, but just to finish with, and I know where you're going with it.
It's silly.
Something's got to change, and we
really
accept
silly.
that. PSR's
it's not well thought
working.
out.
But you get up to the Premier League, and you're a decent club, but you're not a huge one. How are you ever going to compete once you get there? under the rules that you're having, i.e. no rules regards PSR, how are you ever going to compete with the likes of City, with the likes of Newcastle, with the likes of others where there are no rules, and you're in there, but you don't have nearly as deep pockets as they do.
But first and foremost, that's the nature of the beast, right? But you're not being restricted by anything other than your own abilities.
Right.
So if you want a different owner, sell your club to a different owner. Newcastle was once upon a time run by a billionaire called Mike Ashley, who ran it a certain way. He could have spent money as much money as he wanted as well. He didn't want to, and that's his choice. The new ownership model at Newcastle spends money differently and has a different viewpoint. Wrexham are showing you a different set of heels. They're coming up through the divisions, not because their owners are going to put any money in, because they're able to commercialise their owner's reputation and turn it into hundreds of millions of pounds of commercial opportunities. So, you can't restrict people from that opportunity. You can't restrict people from investing in their businesses and say that's fair. That's not fair. Why can't Nottingham Forest have what Man City had? I know, because of timing. Because of timing. Why did Man City get castigated for the very things that Chelsea did? Because of timing.
Yeah.
Because the cabal that was there before, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal and Tottenham, didn't want it. And why didn't they want it? Because it suits them. Is it all about what they want then? The big six that exist now, are they the big six in perpetuity? Is that what people want for their football clubs?
Okay. I was hoping you'd come to an end of this part before 11:30. But we haven't quite managed that, have we?
I'm finished now.
But that doesn't matter. That was around one of football's top business stories with Tesco Mobile for Business.
Business briefing on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle as a Pilates instructor? Stretch your budget with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big three networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
Manchester United have sunk to a new low under Ruben Amorim, with League Two side Grimsby knocking them out of the Carabao Cup. They lost 12-11 on pens. Mickey Gray slammed the performance, saying it doesn't get any worse.
They deserve all the criticism they're getting today because it just was not good from first minute to last. And I know they clawed their way back and they got themselves back to 2-2, but that just papered over the cracks. It was a terrible performance.
As for the 4th Division team, keeper Christy Pym says Dave Artle was rewarded for telling his players to go and be brave.
Leading into the game, he said, be brave and have a right go. And the pressure's on them. I mean, for them not in Europe, they had to get, they need to win a trophy. So all the pressure was on them.
Grimsby now have a third-round tie with Sheffield Wednesday. Elsewhere in the Carabao, Everton had a decent 2-0 win over Mansfield Town at Hill Dickinson. They go to Wolves in round 3. The full draws up at talksport.com. Now, Russell Martin's apologised to Rangers fans after they lost 6-0. Club Brugge go through to the Champions League proper 9-1 on aggregate. We'll have the reaction to this afternoon's draw on Drive. And at the US Open, Daniel Medvedev's been fined 31 grand for his explosive meltdown. And there was some serious beef between Jelena Ostapenko and Taylor Townsend. After Townsend won, Ostapenko accused Townsend of lacking class for starting the warm-up without her and for not apologising about it.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
We're joined by Sean Martin from BetMGM to look at today's top sporting events and the odds round and about them. Sean, good morning to you. We will get to the hot topic of the Old Firm very shortly, but mighty Manchester United humbled in the Carabao Cup last night by Grimsby. What's the BetMGM take on that?
Yeah, morning lads. I thought I should clamber out the wheelie bin and come on here and chat a bit about Rangers and Celtic with you. But Man United stole the worst result of the week title, haven't they? A few dozen BetMGM players backed Grimsby to progress at 7-1 or so, and a handful of folk had the 2-2 correct score at between 18 and 22-1 as well. I heard some of the show about an hour or so ago when you were discussing Amorim sitting in the dugout head down during the shootout. All I'll say is at least Brendan Rodgers actually watched us lose on penalties, I suppose. United at home to Burnley this weekend, 4-11 favourites to get back on the horse with a win. And Burnley, funnily enough, 7-1 outsiders, the same as Grimsby were to progress last night. 4-1 the draw might attract a few, but Amorim will hope the fact that United don't tend to struggle too much against promoted sides bears fruit because they're unbeaten in 23 against newly promoted teams. The wider view there is that United are 4-1 to make the top 4 and just a shade over even money for top 6, which is actually a move out from pre-season, likely sparked not just by their own slow start, but by Spurs beginning the season well, because they're into evens for top 6 and less than 3-1 for top 4, guys. Are either of those teams in your personal top 4s out of interest?
What was your top 4? Have you a top 4, Mr. Jordan?
My top 4?
Yeah.
I haven't assembled its order, but Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea.
Yeah. Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea. Right. Where do you think the most likely destination at the end of this season is for the mighty Manchester United?
8th.
Yeah, so top half, but no better than that. We shall see. High noon on Sunday, Sean. Rangers against Celtic at Ibrox. Both of them out of the Champions League. Rangers kicked out of it last night, 9-1 on aggregate. All sorts of pressure on Russell Martin. Again, what's the BetMGM thinking on this particular Old Firm tussle this Sunday?
Rangers no better luck last night than Celtic had on Tuesday, albeit in a much different manner. Odds were as high as 80-1 for that 6-0 correct score at points yesterday, by the way. And the upshot is both teams really go into the derby on Sunday licking their wounds. Domestically, Celtic have been solid enough, albeit at times pretty uninspiring. 3 wins from 3 though, and 3 clean sheets versus Rangers, 3 draws and no clean sheets. But let's see how Celtic respond to the Kairat Almaty result, because it's never easy at Ibrox regardless of how much they've struggled so far. Odds wise, it's Celtic the even money favourites, 14-5 the draw, Rangers the outsiders at just over 2-1. And there was also a time not too long ago, Jim, that Brendan Rodgers probably loved seeing a Rangers game up next because it was almost a given that he would win it. His first 20, he won 16, lost just once, now without a win in the last 3, and the last 6 have actually been split equally after 90 minutes. But his saving grace could well be the fact, as I've heard callers refer to today, the fact that Russell Martin's tactically still a way away from getting him where he wants them to be. He's slightly less expansive, let's say, than the tactics of his predecessors that Rodgers did seem to struggle to adapt to at times last season. A game of football might actually break out, in other words, and that would suit Celtic a bit more than you think. But yeah, you know what it's like up here for a Rangers Celtic game, Jim. all about the win by hook or by crook. But on top of that, for me, with how genuinely disappointed I was with both performances against Kairat, I don't think a result alone will be that big a tonic for Celtic. I think it needs to be both result plus performance, Jim. How do you see it going, out of curiosity? I take it you'll be watching.
I think it's impossible to call it. I must be honest. I mean, we're watching this from distance, as we always do, but we also know what's going on in the build-up to it. Sean, this could end up 3-4-1 Celtic. This could end up 3-0 Rangers. I mean, honestly, there is no way of telling.
I know. Maybe
either one is going to do.
Maybe we should ask Sir Rod Stewart, CBE, what his opinion is.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a difficult game for Russell Martin. I mean, he's going to go into an atmosphere that seems to be febrile against him, with a group of players that are not performing at a high level. So I fear for him in this game. I fear that even more indignation could be foisted upon him. But like you guys will speak to and attest to, these games take care of themselves. There's a different level in these games. When you get a derby, and a derby of this significance, an Old Firm game, which is unique, you probably can't forecast, given the fact that both teams have a reason to be highly motivated, you would think.
Oh, absolutely, Simon. Both, Sean, haven't they? Have got an enormous
beyond the usual reason of playing one
win
another.
it. Yeah, exactly. And Sean, Crystal Palace and Aberdeen amongst the teams in European action tonight.
Yep, can pretty much repeat what I said last week. It's over to Aberdeen and Hibs to do a bit of work for Scottish football this midweek. Speaking of the accumulator that I mentioned last Thursday, it was only let down by Hibs not scoring a couple more of their 5 big chances. So tweaking tonight's ever so slightly. Crystal Palace to win 2-0 again. FCSB, they'll Steaua Bucharest, as you say, and Aberdeen, both teams to score again. And this time, swapping a Hibs win out for Legia Hibs both to score as well, which is a tidy wee 6-1 number, Jim. But also, just before we go on the subject of Palace, Captain Mark Gahey's odds have flipped this morning. So he was 6-4 to go to Liverpool and 1-2 to stay yesterday. That's now the exact opposite. 1-2 to go to Liverpool, 6-4 to stay at Selhurst. Simon, we know your thoughts on Gahey leaving in general. It's either in window for a fee or end of season for free. That's just the kind of 2 possibilities you see, really. Yeah. But gut feeling, is he a Palace player 7:01 p.m. Monday?
No.
You think he'll go?
I think he'll go.
Okay, Sean, thank you very much indeed. Remember, visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Simon, you'll have heard there Sean Martin mentioned that Aberdeen are in action tonight in the Europa League. It's a Europa League playoff second leg tie against FCSB in old money, Steaua Bucharest. It's in Bucharest, the Romanian capital, and it's finally poised at 2-2 from the first leg. Now, he's flown over from the US. Dave Cormack, the Aberdeen owner, is in Bucharest. Just before we came on air, I had a quick word with Dave, and I said to him, look, in view of what's been going on elsewhere this week with Scottish clubs in Europe, Rangers and Celtic, of course, what about your tie tonight? What hope do you give yourselves going in at 2-2 first leg?
It's a great opportunity for us. I mean, last week the atmosphere at the Tawdry is one of the best I've ever seen in almost 60 years. Pretty much full stadium. The pyro is everything, the fans. Listen, at the end of the day, we let in 2 tough goals. Ordinarily, you wouldn't expect to lose. And the team came back, and we've every hope for tonight. But one thing's for sure that we will know is that Jimmy Tilleen and the coaching staff will have the boys go all out for it tonight.
Dave, when you've seen what happened in Europe with Celtic and then Rangers in Belgium last night, are you surprised they have plummeted, if you like, to the depths they have?
Well, it's not my place I've got enough to say grace over sharing Aberdeen Football Club. It's not my position to talk about other clubs. Well, what I will say, Jim, is in terms of the coefficient, it doesn't help that we don't have a team in the league phase of the Champions League. I mean, financially, for the Premiership clubs that are not in Europe, I think next year it's probably going to cost in solidarity money each club £600,000. But listen, at the end of the day, it's important that all of our clubs do well in Europe, and obviously we'll do our bit to get into the Europa League proper tonight for the first time.
Are you in any way, Dave, seeing this as a moment for the likes of Aberdeen and maybe others like Hearts with Tony Bloom's investment, that maybe there's an opportunity opening up here with the Old Firm demonstrating the frailties they have?
If you take all the top leagues, right, around Europe now, there are teams, the usual teams, only a few teams likely to win the league, right, across Europe, whether that be Spain or England, etc. I do think it's really healthy that the investments come in. A significant investment have come in across Scotland, in particular, Hearts, Hibs, Dundee United. And I think overall, that in and of itself, is healthy. Listen, Dundee United were very unlucky not to go through, and Hibernian have played really well in Europe so far this season. And I think what that means is when you're up against teams like that, and listen, we play Steaua Bucharest tonight, or FCSB as they're called now, and I think they're ranked number 70 or 75, in Europe. And so similarly, the teams that Dundee United and Hibs have played are strong teams, and they've competed really well. So I think that bodes well for Scottish clubs generally, and I think it bodes well for some challenging in the league. And of course, us winning the Scottish Cup, Aberdeen are Scottish Cup holders for the first time in 35 years.
You know what's coming. Days left in the transfer window. If you can do it, might you do it in terms of strengthening your squad?
I'm now non-executive chairman. The only times I really get involved, which is when the football guys come to me and say, I know we said this player was going to cost this in transfer fee and this in wages, but it's more. So I get a lot of calls, But yes, listen, I said a couple of weeks ago, we're looking to bring in 2 or 3 players. I think we'll fulfill that. But when you're after good players, right, there's competition. And sometimes it takes until the last few hours to get it done. But we're certainly looking to strengthen the squad in the next few days.
And we'll watch that with interest. Dave Cormack, the Aberdeen executive
thinker.
chairman. He is a sensible thinker,
yes.
Simon. You ask him a question, you get an answer. And this is a moment for Aberdeen tonight. They want to stay in the Europa League and go forward. It's poised at 2-2. And you think of Aberdeen, I think of years ago under Sir Alex.
Of course.
With a terrific European record.
Of course you do.
They won the Cup Winners' Cup.
Strachan and Willie Miller and all those sort of
Miller,
people.
McLeish.
Absolutely. It's interesting he's talking about things that people don't really think about, which is the coefficient benefits of having leading Scottish clubs in the Champions League and what it means to other clubs inside the Scottish pyramid. And maybe they didn't need to. Maybe they should have thought about that when they jettisoned Rangers out of the Premier League and cast them asunder because of the things that they did. And I knew there needed to be consequence, but I think that a lot of people served up Rangers for different reasons than just consequent them for football-related transgressions. And of course, you're now seeing that play out in other things, which is Rangers and Celtic being in Europe has a benefit to the Scottish pyramid.
Of course. Various clubs with challenges on their hands right now. One here in London, undoubtedly West Ham United. We're going to be joined after this by former West Ham boss Slaven Bilic, all the way from Croatia. Jim White and Simon Jordan this Thursday lunchtime live on talkSPORT. Don't know if anyone's ever been out in Split in Croatia. Beautiful place. That's where we find our next guest, who's waiting to speak to us, a native Croatian himself. And of course, when I say the name, instantly recognisable, both as a player and a manager here in the top flight of English football. It's a very good afternoon, almost. I'm not sure if he's ahead of us in time or not, but it's hi to former West Ham and Everton manager Slaven Bilic. Slaven, how are you?
Hi, Jim. Hi, Simon. Yeah, I'm fine. We are 1 hour ahead. So it's already 5-1 here, and it's nice. Yeah, I'm fine. Still holidays, still summer, still no school. So it's very busy in Croatia. A lot of British people, to be fair. So you feel like in England or on the island, but it's
Good
very
man.
nice.
Good man. Yeah, it's a very popular holiday destination these days, is Croatia. Slaven, before we get into West Ham, maybe a bit of Everton as well, what was your reaction out there? What was your reaction when you heard that Manchester United had been dumped out of the League Cup last night at Little Grimsby Town?
It was a shock, to be fair. Now you are well prepared that Manchester United can't surprise you in a negative way anymore after last few seasons or whatever. But nobody expected that. This is like the final proof. The final proof. That something is. It's not that. It's not shallow. It's not just the tactics. It's not just did you play 4-3-3 or 3-5-2. It's not the system. It's not. It's a much bigger problem, and I think this is the final proof that something is very wrong. It's not the manager, it's not the left back, it's not this or that. It's not only the badge. I think it's a combination of many things, and it's shocking, to be fair.
And of course, also out the Carabao Cup this week, your former club West Ham United, albeit at Wolverhampton Wanderers. You are West Ham manager, Slaven. Is it simple? When it rains, it pours. I mean, how easy or difficult a fan base are they to satisfy?
Look, we spoke last time I was there, which was in, October last year, and we spoke about West Ham, and we spoke about the pressure. I mean, the pressure is now everywhere, Are you in Aberdeen with the guy that you spoke about, or you are at Hajduk Split, or no matter where in the world, there's a lot of impact of media, podcast, this and that, so it's not easy. But there are clubs where it's even more difficult. And to be fair, West Ham is one of those clubs. We spoke last time, West Ham is not the biggest club, of course, but it's very popular club. It's kind of a special club. The fans are very demanding. The media, the whole environment around West Ham is very demanding. So is what I'm trying to say. West Ham is one of those clubs that very quick you get in that trouble zone, and it's only after 2 days and cup game. Okay, it's 3 games. But suddenly you are in a trouble zone, and unless you know the club, unless you know the situation, and unless you are strong with a clear plan, it's not easy. It's not easy to get out of there. It is, now with West Ham, a lot of people, including me, will say, yeah, only 2 games or 3. It's only 2 games, but you have a feeling that it's like 15 games at West Ham now.
But the thing is, Slaven, it is really because the currency that Graham's going to try and rely on is his back catalogue of last year. So he brings nothing into this season besides challenges, and he starts the season badly. I was going to ask you about, we both know David Sullivan for different reasons. The appointments that he's made recently in Potter and Lopetegui. Karen Brady was on the other day talking about West Ham, saying they don't make rash decisions and sack managers quickly, which seemed to be a contradiction in terms, given the fact they sacked Lopetegui after 6 months. When you look at Sullivan's reaction and appointing the managers, do you fear for Graham Potter?
Not that much. He's well known. Well, he sacked me, to be fair, in the start of my 3rd season. Mm-hmm. I think from my point of view and objectively that I've done a really good couple of seasons. But he's not the one who likes to sack managers. He likes to give them. But on the other hand, as whole West Ham, also him, it's difficult not to get into those. I am saying that it's a panic zone, but into that kind of environment that is completely negative. So he, as I said, he was my chairman. He was, and he likes to talk to you. You speak to him on a weekly basis. He likes to give you time and give you confidence and give you credit. But nowadays, everywhere, and especially West Ham, it's not easy. It's very difficult to stay calm.
And I don't think, Slaven, am I right that you and David Sullivan exchange Christmas cards with each other? Because Sullivan said he regretted not dismissing you earlier. You later accused Sullivan of making him a scapegoat for transfer policies. I mean, it got a bit bitter between the two of you, right?
No, it didn't. That's what I'm talking to tell you. Yeah.
Slaven.
Based on those two, no. Based on those two sentences or whatever, yes. But we had hundreds of them. I told you, I spoke to him on a weekly basis, and we are now on very good terms. It's not. Of course, I wasn't happy, and of course, I think now, not, and even then, that I didn't deserve to be sacked.
Yeah.
A couple of seasons were extreme, were successful. Last season in Upton Park, and don't forget, make no mistake, how difficult it is to move stadiums, especially to go from Upton Park to New Olympic Stadium. It's a big arena. It's not easy to just. And West Ham, and the proof is afterwards. West Ham needed few seasons to get used to it.
Sure. Slaven, in the little time we have left, I want your opinion on this. You've managed at club level, an extremely high level. You've also managed at international level. The Sweden boss, John Dahl Tomasson, says this week that he's selecting Alexander Isak to play for his country, to play for Sweden. What's your take on that, in the knowledge that Isak is refusing to play for his club, Newcastle United, while they're embroiled in this willy go, willy stay situation, and Liverpool watching all the time?
Look, probably, from... I was manager of Croatia, and I definitely had those kind of situations where during the transfer window the player wasn't playing, or he was on strike. Let's call it like that. But what I'm sure that he did, Swedish manager Tomasson, he called the player and he told him, "Listen, I know it's very difficult for you. Do you want to be involved, or do you want to have some time off?" And definitely the player, because you have to contact the player. And then probably the player said, "Listen, I want to be involved. I need to be around my teammates and everything, blah, blah, blah." So it was a logical decision, but I'm sure that the manager called the player.
Slaven, we look forward to seeing you back here. I hope in England, maybe London sometime soon. And when you do, you can join us live here in the studio. Slaven Bilic with us live this lunchtime in talkSPORT. It's just gone 12 noon.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. After Man United sink to new lows under Ruben Amorim, talkSPORT's spoken to Grimsby keeper and Man United fan Christy Pipp.
It's a tough time, isn't it, for them at the minute? And, thankfully we heaped a bit more misery on them. But yeah, bittersweet at the end, I guess.
Grimsby won an epic penalty shootout, 12-11. Pim told us how manager Dave Artell got the boys up for it.
Leading into the game, he said, be brave and have a right go. And the pressure's on them. I mean, for them not in Europe, they had to get, they need to win a trophy. So all the pressure was on them.
Grimsby have a third-round tie with Sheffield Wednesday. Now, Chelsea's Christopher Nkunku is very close to joining AC Milan. We understand a 5-year deal's been agreed worth £36.2 million. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
And Nkunku has been given permission to fly over to Italy and undergo a medical. It's not done yet because I think Nkunku still has to agree to take a salary reduction.
Meanwhile, West Ham have a fee agreed with Southampton for midfielder Mateus Fernandes. That's £38 million plus 3 in add-ons. All the latest at talksport.com. And Aberdeen boss Dave Cormack's told White and Jordan Rangers and Celtic's failure to reach the Champions League proper is damaging Scottish football.
For the Premiership clubs that are not in Europe, I think next year it's probably going to cost in solidarity money each club £600,000.
Aberdeen will do their bit for the Scottish coefficient tonight. They're in Bucharest to play FCSB with their Europa League playoff tie at 2-2. And the Champions League final kickoff has been brought forward to 5 p.m. UK time. UEFA says it's to benefit fans, teams and host cities. We'll bring you the fallout from the Champions League draw on Drive this afternoon.
talkSPORT News.
There are worries about how higher taxes for landlords could affect rent prices, and 2 men who are reportedly asylum seekers have been in court charged over the alleged rape of a 12-year-old girl. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Sunshine and scattered showers for most of us. Heavy and thundery at times. Breezy today, especially in the west where it's cooler. Warmer in the east.
It's that time. Spencer Oliver joins us in the news studio on the 17th floor of the news building. Right on time to involve himself in another hour of boxing chat. And Spencer, it was nice of Simon to stroll in at your back, incidentally. I didn't know if he was going to join us at all. He was mingling with some of the newsreaders and giving them career advice, no doubt. But good to see you, Spence. How are you?
Good to see you, Jim. Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good. Spencer, here we go. And Simon, when you think of it, we're into the final quarter of the year. There have been so many stories, so many headline stories in the world of boxing. I wonder what ones have hit the heights for you as boxing fans. I wonder what ones have done it for Spencer and for Simon. What have been your favourite boxing stories? What maybe have been your biggest boxing disappointments? If you want, text me at 81089 and I'll throw in a few from you. But Spencer, on your favourite stories coming out of 2025 so far in the world of boxing, what's up there?
I think the Ben Eubank fight week was one for us because of the controversy surrounding that and whether the fight was going to live up to expectations, and it did. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was absolutely bouncing. Unfortunately, Simon missed that one.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
I was there.
Yeah, that was so good. And obviously Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk, the undisputed world heavyweight title taking place in this country, Wembley Stadium. That was a fantastic week as well. I've had so many actually. And actually another one, which is a little bit off field, if you like, is when we went to Ghana, Africa coming back into boxing, and the atmosphere out there was absolutely insane. And just Remember, I told you when it started, it was absolutely pelting down with rain. There was no cover on the ring. This guy Abdullah gets knocked down and knocked out and wakes up again with the amount of water that was in the ring. The water just splashed up. It was like a movie, man. It was insane. But it was good to see Africa getting back into boxing after so many years. And I think the plans for boxing to come back there as well.
Good. It is a wonderful country, Ghana. Accra in Ghana. What about you, Simon, just before we move on? Is there one boxing story that did it for you this year so far?
Well, I mean, one fight that I particularly enjoyed was Callum Smith versus Josh Boetzy. I thought that was a fabulous fight. I think there was everything in it. As you know, I'm very fond of the Smith brothers, and I like Callum very much, and I was very pleased with his performance. I like Josh Boetzy, and I thought it was a great fight, coming of age fight to some extent for Josh, because he needs to up his game if he's going to go and fight at world level. But I thought it was a great fight. But I think the whole boxing scene, whatever you think about certain personalities and whatever you do or don't like, the one thing you can't deny is a vibrancy and an energy and a content delivery, a regular content delivery mechanism now for high quality boxing. The British events are selling out. You're getting. I went down to Ipswich the other day to watch Fabio Wardley fight at his hometown against Justice Hooney, which was a great fight in some respects, but the atmosphere around the stadium, it was fabulous. You watch Dave Allen. I'm a great admirer of Dave Allen. I love the backstory to Dave and how he's coming out of his shell a little bit now in terms of his personality showing even more.
Yeah.
And the rebuild of Dave Allen. There's a whole after stories. Yeah. Ben Whittaker and the challenges that he had with Liam Cameron and the challenges around that and all the scandal that went about whether he quit or whether he didn't quit. There's a whole raft of things that you can look at.
I think it's fair to say that, boxing has had a facelift and has become mainstream. I think it has captured the imagination of not just boxing fans, but people outside of boxing fans as well. It's become an event in many ways. I think that's the plus for boxing, definitely.
Well, it's re-energised itself. I mean, we must remember that back in the day, when you had Michael Watson and Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, these huge fights on British rings weren't something that we weren't used to. But boxing, when it disappeared off terrestrial television and became less of a focus upon sport, it became a tad niche. And that's not decrying anything that Frank or Eddie may have done. It's just a reality. Now with the supernova that was the Saudis coming in, everything, and then you've got the personalities like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury that have raised the level and everything. So it's a great time for boxing.
Well, it begs the question, Simon, is the best still yet to come in this calendar year? We know November the 15th, Eubank Jr. Ben will do it again. Will you go to that one this time?
I don't think so, no.
No, you're not going to shift from your position? Why does that not surprise me? But before that, in fact, next month on the 13th of September, Saul Canelo Alvarez against Terence Crawford for the undisputed super middleweight world championship. It's going to be on Netflix. This will wet your whistle for it.
Every once in a while, the impossible becomes improbable. The birth of a new legend. They don't come around every day. Omaha, Nebraska, they take time, find their place. One step, then another. The punch leads to purpose. Fighting out of Omaha, Terence. And when purpose consumes everything else, that hunger becomes fate. Now what was once improbable becomes inevitable. Two legends from different corners of the world both share the same story. But only one will walk away remembered. That every once in a while now becomes once in a lifetime.
Oh, just a bit, isn't it? Fabulous. Terence Crawford, 41-0, 31 by knockout. Canelo Alvarez, 63 fights, drawn 2, lost 2. And of the wins, 39 by knockout. What's going to give in this, Spencer?
This is the best fight in boxing, bar none. We've got two of the best fighters in the world. And Terence Crawford trying to do what no other's done before. A 4-division world champion. and, you know, jumping up from light middleweight now to super middle, trying to achieve the unachievable against Canelo Alvarez, who is pound for pound. Can he do it? I think he can. I think that this guy creates history. Terence Crawford is that good. You know, I've always said it. I think that he lives with any welterweight. His best weight really has been at welterweight. He lives with any welterweight in any division for me, and that's including all the greats. You know, you're going back to your Roberto Durans, Sugar Ray Leonards, all those guys. I think that he is that good. And we find out in September. It's going to be a fantastic fight.
And it is, Simon, once in a lifetime. And this is one that everybody's going to be focused on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've just been reading the big feature in the Ring magazine. They've got a whole Ring magazine that Turkey now owns, all on this fight, and it's really quite interesting to look through all the dynamics of how people first saw Saul Alvarez and what they thought of him to what they now see him to be. The fascinating thing is that the difficulty that most people would put to Terence Crawford is the size element of things. But I think if he's going to fight Saul Alvarez, it's the right time to fight him now, because we're seeing elements of decline in Alvarez. Okay, the dance partners has been forced to fight against William Skell, didn't come to fight, did they? No. But Crawford, it'll be interesting to see how their styles gel and how the fight proceeds. But having watched Crawford like you have done, from the moment he landed on his shores to deal with Ricky Burns all those years ago, to the manner in which he dismantled Errol Spence and stepping up the weight classes, I'm in Spencer's camp. We're both in the same position, aligned, foolishly together perhaps, in the belief that Crawford will beat Alvarez. And I'd like to see him beat Alvarez, quite frankly.
I mean, a joint 70 knockouts in their careers.
They're incredible.
Is this going to go the distance?
Insanely, I think it will. I think because they're both technically that good and they're both very durable. That's how they become the superstars of the sport of today. You know, they both can take a shot. They both mix it up. They'll both sit in the pocket. You're going to have excitement for sure because they will both go for it. They're both spiteful, very heavy-handed. But I think they both hear the final bell. I really do. But I just think that Crawford's extra boxing IQ and the fact that he's moved up them weight divisions, who Canelo moved up from welterweight as well. He's gone through the weights as well. So when you look at them sizing up now, Crawford actually looks bigger than him right now. But Canelo's developed as a super middleweight. He's accustomed to being super middleweight now, whereas Crawford isn't. But I think that extra movement will be enough for Crawford, and I think he will be able to sit in the pocket when he has to against Alvarez. But be sure, this one will be a barnstormer for sure.
I think it will. You going with Spencer? Crawford?
We've discussed it on a number of occasions. I went straight away with Crawford, and so did Spence. I mean, other people that we've spoken to, I think Paul Smith and other people that sit on the show with us think it will be Canelo Alvarez because of size. We've seen Canelo Alvarez take that journey up to light heavy and find himself coming up against Dimitri Bivol and not being able to do what he does at super middleweight. I just think that Crawford is such a fighter of such stature and competence that he might just be the kryptonite to Saul Alvarez.
Can't wait for that. 2 weeks away. When we come back after the short break, we're going to reflect on what was an absolute classic fight between two very good British fighters. That's next. Thursday lunchtime. Jim White, Simon Jordan. We're talking boxing with Spencer Oliver. And of course, many fight fans getting in touch, 81089, with the fights that really have done it for you in this year so far. Of course, we're going into the last quarter of the year. There's Terry saying he agrees with Spence. The Chris Eubank Jr. Ben fight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was the highlight of the year so far for him. I tend to agree with him on that. Having said that, there was an absolute barn burner of a fight last Saturday night in the Northwest, in Altrincham to be precise, between two cracking British fighters. It was for the British Super Lightweight title, Jack Rafferty up against Mark Chamberlain. And this was some battle between these two. It ended in a majority draw, and many who were there say this was the one that was fight of the year. One of the judges scored in favour of Chamberlain by a round, but the other two had it 114-114. Both fighters were battered and bruised, but both left the ring and left the event undefeated. I'm delighted to say Jack Rafferty has recovered sufficiently to join us live this lunchtime. Jack, good afternoon. How are you feeling a few days on?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I've got over it in a week. I just want to do it again. I want to put the so-called wrongs right, and I think I'll get a chance to do that, in December. But rest, recover, taking over in the gym, waiting for a phone call off Frank whenever that'll be, and like I said, get the rematch on the go.
Yeah, Jack, that was an absolute barn burner, mate, and a really tough fight to score. The action was swinging one way, then the other. You both left it all in the ring. I salute you both for that. But you want to go straight back into the immediate rematch and do it again, yeah?
Oh, there's no other fight I want apart from that. I want to, like I said, I thought I won. Listen, he thought he won. I thought I won. Let's do it again. Let's do it all again. And one guy I'm raised.
I mean, when you look at it, Jack, you guys went in there with mutual respect. You've come out, neither of you won it, but neither of you lost it. Does that respect carry on into the next fight, as and when that happens, that you have for Mark Chamberlain?
Yeah, there's immediate respect after the fight. Listen, we've trained hard for each other. We've grafted hard for 12 weeks. We've got ourselves in top shape, strong, fit, ready to fight. Listen, we give a hug, appreciate each other's hard work, and like I said, it's back to normal now. Whenever that date will be, maybe the back end of the year, hopefully. It's back to business, and like I said, I'm a man of my word. I'll shake anyone's hand, but in between the business, it's business first. Then I'll shake his hand after that.
Yeah, Jack, you've done it the hard way, really, haven't you? You're 26-0 before going into this contest now with the one draw on your record as well. But you've sort of like been that guy that would fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. And this was really the breakthrough fight for you, wasn't it? Winning this fight here, if you would have won this fight, you kick on then European world honours, etc., etc. Is this much of a setback for you, or is it just something you need to go over?
Yeah, it's a setback for me, really. Like I said, I'm a winner. I wanted to win. I thought I won, but I'm a fighter. I'm not a judge. So, like I said, that's the fight. What I want next, I want to put that draw into a win. And come home, as a champion still after beating Mark Chamberlain.
But why does that matter? I mean, Jack, you've retained your belts. You're in a very competitive division where commercial opportunities will be presented to yourself. You've been in a great fight. Why does it matter so much to you? Is that the right commercial decision, or is it about you feeling that this is an injustice, or you feeling that you need to really reinforce your position? Because by retaining the belts, there's other people in your division that potentially you could start to look at, which is Adam Azim and Dalton Smith, and start to really earn some proper dough. Why is this rehashing of the same fight so important to you?
I think not using Mark, but the Mark fight last, it put out another feather in our hat for this. People want to tune. If this fight gets announced, people want to tune in for that. I think the money will be better next time out, and winning that, it can go on to bigger, better things. Like I said, if Frank brings for a different fight, like I said, if Frank says jump, I'll say all right, I'll take any fight. But I think that's the fight for me next, Mark Chamberlain, number 2.
I think at your stage in your career, Jack, am I right? You're about 29. years of age. And as Spencer said earlier, you're 26-0. That record, you're a proud guy. That record is very important to you, the old part, and you want to keep that.
Yeah, definitely. I want to keep that record, and I think a win against Mark next time out would, I can produce and show a better side of me in that ring next time out. And like I said, if it is Mark next, which I want, if not, it's like I said, it could be one of the bigger names, and I'll take that as well.
It's always good to have other dance partners in the division, especially British fighters as well. And you've got those in Adam Azim, Dalton Smith, and you look at those, Jack Catterall, whether he comes back down again, he says that that's a possibility as well. But then they're the bigger names you want, aren't they? How far off do you see yourself from them? Or is that a fight, if that was potentially put to you, you would take one of those names?
I think I'm there now. I think I'm there now. Take them fights. If that's next, I'll take that 100%. Like your big names, like you said, these are the ones that are paying mortgages off. Not like a minute to pay mortgages off, but I've got no pension, so like I said, these will help. These fights will help me in later time in life. So, like I said, I want the biggest fights. So I want these tests. This is what I'm in it for. To see what I'm about. Test myself. It's all right having a padded record, but I want to see what Jet Rath's made of against these top lads. It's sink or swim, and I think I'll be swimming.
Did Mark Chamberlain surprise you, Jack? I mean, obviously he came in off the back of the much noise about being Turki Al-Sheikh's favourite fighter. Obviously he lost to Josh Padley, and Josh Padley took the opportunity to fight Shekhar Stevenson. Did Mark Chamberlain surprise you in that fight?
No, I think he surprised himself. I think fair play to him for staying in there. There's some, there's some rounds there, but 7th onwards, I thought fair play to him staying up, and 10, 11, and 12, his eyes were a mess, and but I think he surprised himself more than anything, and yeah, probably it's all right me saying it now. I should have got him out of there because he would have, could have, should have in it, but I didn't do. So next time I will have to do and not leave it into the judges' hands.
So you're looking at next time then, Jack. We'll see what happens when that time comes around. Just before you leave us, mate, you probably heard just before we came to you, we were talking about this extraordinary fight that's on the horizon between Canelo and Crawford, and it's coming sooner than later, the 13th of September. Where'd you go with that one? Can you is it possible to pick a winner?
I think there is, yeah. I think it's Crawford. I just think he's special. I just think he absolutely rises to every occasion and more. You've seen it with Spence last time out, what a masterclass. And I think, people saying he's small, but have you seen the size of him now? So I think my money will be going on Crawford.
Okay, Jack, listen, thanks for joining us. A few days after that barn burner of a fight, as we said, up in the Northwest, when Jack drew the fight in the end with Mark Chamberlain, and they want to do it again, as boxers do. Just ask Spencer. It's 12:30.
Manchester United have sunk to a new low under Ruben Amorim, with League Two side Grimsby knocking them out of the Carabao Cup. They lost 12-11 on pens. Mickey Gray slammed the performance, saying it doesn't get any worse.
They deserve all the criticism they're getting today because it just was not good from first minute to last. And I know they clawed their way back and they got themselves back to 2-2, but that just papered over the cracks. It was a terrible performance.
As for the 4th Division team, keeper Christy Pym says Dave Artle was rewarded for telling his players to go and be brave.
Leading into the game, he said, be brave and have a right go at them. The pressure's on them. I mean, for them not in Europe, they had to get, they need to win a trophy. So all the pressure was on them.
Grimsby now have a third-round tie with Sheffield Wednesday. Elsewhere in the Carabao, Everton had a decent 2-0 win over Mansfield Town at Hill Dickinson. They go to Wolves in round 3. The full draws up at talkSPORT.com. Now, Russell Martin's apologised to Rangers fans after they lost 6-0. Club Brugge go through to the Champions League proper, 9-1 on aggregate. We'll have the reaction to this afternoon's draw on Drive. And at the US Open, Daniel Medvedev's been fined 31 grand for his explosive meltdown. And there was some serious beef between Jelena Ostapenko and Taylor Townsend. After Townsend won, Ostapenko accused Townsend of lacking class for starting the warm-up without her and for not apologising about a netball.
It is Thursday lunchtime. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and it is Spencer Oliver, and we are talking boxing. Of course we are. This hour and every 12 to 1 hour on a Thursday, live on talkSPORT. Coming to you live, of course, on YouTube and your smart TV as well. And you can witness what we do in this super duper news studio on the 17th floor of the news building, although we can't see out the window anymore. We used to look out, Spencer, at the Thames and the boats, and Simon and I used to enjoy that. It was quite therapeutic, but no longer.
We used to put Jim by the window because he likes it by the window.
I did. They've covered it up,
on.
and we've got a huge telly there with talkSPORT written on it. Anyway, not to worry about that. Here's an interesting story as we press on this Thursday lunchtime. And a headline that many didn't expect to see this week was the impending return of former IBF super middleweight champion James DeGale. Maybe not, Spencer, in the format that many would have expected, because it has been announced that DeGale will return to combat sports against the Australian Matt Floyd in the bare knuckle fighting championship in Manchester at the end of this month. He's 39, DeGale. He retired from boxing in 2019 after a unanimous decision defeat by Eubank Jr. And at that time he claimed, and many of you might remember it, he said quite openly, "I am not the fighter I once was." And now this, Spencer, what's he thinking?
Well, I think it was pretty evident, actually, when we go back to 2019 O2 Arena. We saw James DeGale there losing to Chris Eubank Jr., and he was a shell of his former self. It was you could clearly see the fight had left him, totally gone. And I thought that was the last we would see of James DeGale. And he's coming back 6 years later to go into this bare-knuckle boxing. I'm not a big fan of it, if I'm totally honest, because I don't know what he's going to actually bring to the table.
I'm not a fan of this particular bare-knuckle fight.
No, of James coming back.
What about Paulie Malignaggi, who's doing the same thing?
I'm not a big fan of it. I just think that the ex-world champion fighters leave with a legacy, that have had unbelievable careers. James DeGale, former gold medalist, he was a world champion who was in some memorable fights. That draw that he had with Badu Jack. the narrow loss.
Andre Durrell, that won the world
all of
title.
those.
Lucien Boutet.
And you look at that, Simon, and you go...
He's not in favour of this, but he was quite in favour of advocating for Mike Tyson being wheeled in a wheelchair to fight Jake Paul.
He wasn't in a wheelchair. He was actually walking out.
He was on a Zimmer frame.
No, he didn't. He wasn't a Zimmer frame. He had a walking stick.
He was on leg irons.
He had a stick. He had a stick. No, what I'm saying is I like James. I respect him as a fighter, and I think that in 2019 we clearly see... It was sad to see when he boxed Chris Eubank Jr. because of how good a fighter he was, and you could see that. Do I want to see him coming back bare knuckle boxing? Not
he's
really.
a fighting man, and isn't the convention?
I'm a fighting man, but doesn't mean I'm going to.
I know,
do
but
it.
yours is different. Yours was through injury, right? This is a different circumstance. His is because the fighter's left him, as you quite rightly say. But aren't they making a big song and dance now about? And we've had these guys in from BKB, isn't it? Right, about the idea behind bare knuckle boxing and how the ring is shaped differently, and how also that the damage that's done is quicker and less impactful.
Yes.
Won't that allow? Because Paulie Malignaggi, had a very busy career. Won't it allow those guys to rebuild something in a new sport that's got a different sort of energy around it?
No.
It's not the same as being punched for 12 rounds.
No, it won't, because I think that historically ex-boxers that go into it when the fight has just left them never do well in the bare knuckle boxing. None of them ever do well. And I just think I think it's his own individual
I think you're making
sport.
that up as you go along. How many former fighters have gone into bare knuckle fighting?
They have had former fighters go back into bare knuckle boxing.
James L. Corbett or someone like that, or Jake Sullivan from the 1920s.
No. It will come to me. Give me a minute.
Who?
Terry Corbett and Sooty. What are you going on about? Corbett?
Yeah,
He was a heavyweight champion as well, wasn't he?
He's just trying to be funny. You told me he was in a good mood today, and he's clearly not.
The fact of the matter is it's money, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's an opportunity to earn a few quid late on. James DeGale's now 39.
Do you begrudge that then?
Matt Floyd, his opponent, the showing is 36. He's got an interesting backstory that we'll get to. But the fact is, Simon, they both want to do it.
That's right.
And they both want to earn. So who's to say? And it gets an audience, Spencer.
Absolutely.
This gets an audience.
James DeGale is the one that's going to get the audience.
Can you
Matt
guess it
Floyd,
back?
I think.
I mean, can you guess it back? Some would say that the fight left George Foreman. Yeah, George Foreman came back 10 years later and won a world title. Is it once it's gone? Your point is when something leaves you, that animal instinct that you guys have to be fighters,
Yes.
that different mindset. Once it's gone, it's gone. But it has been proven in cases before.
You used George Foreman as an example there. He lost to Muhammad Ali and punched himself out there. It wasn't a fight that had left him.
He fought Ron Lyle and other people after all that. He fought a load of fights and he became a sideshow.
The three of us could talk about why these guys are motivated to doing this. James DeGale is going to do this bare knuckle fight against the Australian Matt Floyd. DeGale's 39, Matt Floyd's 36. I can tell you that Matt Floyd, who's been listening to the show, joins us live now from Australia, down under. Matt, good afternoon to you. It'll be good evening to you, is it?
Yeah, it's about, I think, 6:30 at night. How are you?
We are good. Listen, we're talking about this bare knuckle format fight that you're going to have with James DeGale. You're both, of course, former boxers, and now this. So it's a simple question. Why are you doing it?
I'm still a boxer. I just fought Shane Mosley a couple of weeks ago. I'm doing it because I was talked to about this 6 weeks ago. And I took the fight. It's James DeGale. He's a gold medalist, former world champion. And, I want to fight the best in the world. And, yeah, that's why I'm doing it. I got given a good opportunity. I think Connor wanted me to headline it too. So, and I'm good with all them.
And before Spencer comes in, this transition from going to what you were previously, a boxer, to a bare knuckle fighter, we've been talking about what's involved in doing that. How different is it? What have you got to get used to do that?
It's completely different, man. It's completely different to boxing. It's a different sport for a reason. It's two different things completely. I'm doing all my training's completely different to what I would normally do. I was, normally getting ready for 12 3-minute round fights in boxing. Now all my training is completely different. You got to be first. Everything's got to be different. It's 2-minute rounds, different mindset. Everything's, different. So,
yeah,
Matt, suits me.
Matt, that's what I was just explaining to Simon. I said, you're a current boxer, a guy now that's, just getting into the prime of his career. That good win over Shane Mosley last time out, who is well past his best. But I was talking about this being a different discipline. That's what I was trying to explain to Simon. When you see an ex-fighter who's clearly at the end of the road, you don't want to see him going back into a combat like bare-knuckle boxing because it is a different sport, it's tough, and that is not a place to be when you're, many would say, a washed-up fighter. Am I correct?
I'm very surprised he did it. I know he wanted to box with me too. I thought he was just doing it for promotion, to get a boxing fight, to be honest. I'm, all fair play to him for actually doing it. Hopefully I don't hurt him too bad. I'm a fighter first, probably before a boxer. I'll be always trying to show the world that I'm a great boxer. I believe that I'll beat the best sort of boxing too, but bare knuckle, everyone has always said it from day one. It suits me better. I hate, as much as I hate hearing it, but here we are.
At one stage, Matt, you were going to go in against Tommy Fury earlier in the year. That didn't happen. Why was that?
Because he's a pussy. We're still talking about fighting right now. He had me on his little show. I didn't even watch the show, but someone sent me a clip. Well, we made him a really good offer just recently. The team gave him a good offer, and he said what he wanted. We agreed. We said yes to everything. And even now, we agreed to everything. And anyway, it's just a nightmare. But hopefully, I don't know, man, if he wants to fight or not. We'll see what happens.
Is there a danger for you, Matt, that by mixing the two disciplines, that it could compromise both of them to some extent? Because as Spencer is trying to introduce into the thinking that I know nothing about bare knuckle boxing, which wasn't the point I was making. I was talking about the fight left in the man rather than the actual discipline. Is it a challenge for you to go from boxing with gloves to actually bare knuckle fighting and then go back to boxing, or is your new direction now bare knuckle fighting?
I think when you're a fighter, it's instinct, isn't it? I don't know, man. I'm not going to compare boxing to, the way I've grown up and been in heaps of street fights or bare knuckle fights. That's what you're going to call them, because it's two completely different things growing up. Like when you're fighting on the street, it's not the same because this is two of the highest level people going at. I think to me, it's all instinct. Like when I'm boxing, my team's always, the main thing they're trying to do is get the fight out of me. They think I'm a great boxer. I know I'm a great boxer, but I always, I know Spence was at my last fight. The fight is in me always at the start of the fight, and it's always, you can see it in between the fight. And the fight in me actually affects my boxing, because I could, create a bit of space and hurt him with a left hook, say, for example, things like that. But my fight actually hurts my boxing. But here, it's just all natural to me. It's going to come natural. I don't think it's going to be much worry for me changing from bare knuckle to boxing. I think it comes in sync to me. I think it's actually going to be easier to go to bare knuckle, and it's going to be probably harder for me to come back to boxing again and undo all the good habits I've tried to create in boxing.
Yeah, I think, Matt, the point I was trying to make was, mate, not about current boxers going into bare knuckle. I think Simon clearly misunderstood what I was talking about. I was actually talking about ex-fighters that were well past their best and should retire from any sort of combat sport. Coming back into bare knuckle boxing is not a clever thing to do. Hopefully Simon now understands that.
Matt, I'm glad we get that all sorted out. When the time comes, Matt, and you go in against the Gale, we wish you well, my friend, and thanks for joining us from down under in Australia.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks a lot.
Matt Floyd with us this lunch.
He must be thrilled for the promotion of this fight that Spencer's described it as a washed-up James DeGale coming in with nothing left to offer.
Very much so. Very much so.
Am I lying?
I don't know. What, in the last fight against Chris Eubank? Absolutely.
All the big names joining us this lunchtime, though. Here's another Roy Jones Jr. on the way. Stay with us.
boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing.
Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Well, this Saturday, two former UFC challengers swap the cage for the ring. Darren Till takes on former MMA world champion Luke Rockhold in his boxing debut. Watch live Saturday only on DAZN. Meantime, don't forget, you can watch bare knuckle boxing right here on talkSPORT. Head over to the talkSPORT boxing YouTube channel next Saturday to watch the super middleweight clash between James Connolly and James Reffel live from Bristol. That's before the return of the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi, who fights Tyler Goodjohn in Leeds on October the 18th. That's live bare knuckle boxing on the talkSPORT boxing YouTube channel. It's all coming your way. So is one of the greats of the fight game. I'm delighted to say, with so much to talk about on the horizon, not least Terence Crawford up against Canelo Alvarez. That is in September, very soon to be upon us. I'm delighted to say this lunchtime we are joined by none other than legend of the ring, Roy Jones Jr., coming to us live from Florida over in the US, early over there this morning. Roy, hi to you. Thank you so much for joining us this lunchtime here in London. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How y'all doing?
Y'all are doing fine here at this end. Mr. Jordan and Spencer Oliver sitting beside me here in our studio. Roy, here's the thing. Terence Crawford up against Canelo Alvarez is being billed as a once-in-a-lifetime fight, not just for these two, but for those who are going to watch it. And many millions around the world want to watch it. What's your thought about it? What do you think?
I think it's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime fight. It's a great opportunity for both guys. Both guys are capable of winning the fight. I like the fact that Terence Crawford came up and waited to make this challenge because he had so many people that wouldn't fight him in his own weight class back down the way. It took him a long time to rise to his true prominence to where he really wanted to be. Now he's risen and got into that space, and now he's the biggest opportunity of his life. Yeah, it came at 38, but it's still the biggest opportunity of his life. So I think both guys have everything to lose. Both guys have it all on the table right now. It's a beautiful fight for boxing. I think the fans are going to enjoy it.
Roy, you yourself jumped up from middleweight up to heavyweight, so you went through those ranks. How difficult is that one? And with Terence Crawford coming up, slowly through the weights from lightweight now up to super middleweight, can he make those adjustments? First fight at super middleweight, but I know the greats can do it. Has he the capability of doing it, and how difficult is that?
Yes, he definitely has the capability, but it's going to be very difficult for him because of how far he's come up and because, nowadays, to me, guys are a little bit different. So his true strength is the fact that he can change, fight orthodox or southpaw. That's one of his true strengths. I never depended on that as one of my strengths. I depended on my straight skills as a orthodox fighter. So having that being said, it's a little bit different nowadays than it was back then, but he definitely has enough tools to go in and make this a very competitive fight. And if Canelo doesn't fight the right fight, he could win the fight.
Of course, Roy, quite recently in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we watched Moses Atoma, a young kid with so much potential going in against Dillian White. Of course, Dillian, vastly experienced fighter, and Atoma demolished White in the first round. What's your take on what you've seen already of young Moses?
I like Moses a lot. Moses reminds me of a young Mike Tyson. And what I say that is in the fact that, or in the state that, if you put a guy in front of him that he can hit, he gonna get him out of there. And Dillian White was a guy that he could hit, he got him out of there. So that's the same thing Mike did on his way up. I like that coming from Moses because it gets us excited because we might have another guy that can be almost what Mike Tyson was. That's a beautiful thought right there. He may get better. He may not get there. We don't know. But the fact that we see the potential is exciting to me.
Roy, the heavyweight division was always dominated by the Americans, and we haven't had that in recent times. Deontay Wilder, yeah, he had his little spell there. But in recent times, we've not seen the same amount of talent coming out of America. Why is that? And have we got any exceptional young talents coming through at the moment?
To be honest with you, to be perfectly honest with you, the problem is that most of the old trainers have passed on. Therefore, guys are not being taught how to box from the ground level up anymore, and it's very difficult. So, as a heavyweight, used to be the guys that would be big enough to fit the bill. They had a trainer that could teach them enough to get them to where they need to get to. I thought Jared Anderson was on his way, but somehow he just got caught up in it, and I think that was a separation or a disconnect somewhere with him and his trainer. So I don't know what really happened, but that's the only reason we're not seeing it anymore. Now, if you think about who's dominating, you look at Usyk, right? But you got to remember, Usyk coming from the same school I'm telling you about. He was a guy who's been brought up the right way through the ranks as far as his training and learning. He fought all the amateur tournaments. He won a lot of the amateur tournaments. He dominated at the amateur level. Then he turned over and dominated at the cruiserweight. Now he's dominating as a heavyweight. Why? Because he has that skill level from the ground up.
Roy, can I ask you about the direction of travel for Chris Eubank? Obviously, you trained him. You will have watched him with a degree of interest. You'll have watched the fight against Conor Benn. I've always had this issue with Chris about not fighting for world titles and not developing the opportunities that I thought that perhaps his talent should have provided for him, and obviously hearing about how much money he's got. What do you make post his experience with you, the direction he's gone on, and what did you make of the first fight against Conor Benn, and what do you make of the direction that Chris is going in?
I think Chris is going in a good direction for himself. I don't necessarily think that we should be allowed to necessarily, well, yes, we should, but here's the thing, man. The Mayweather era changed the game. Now the game is more about how much money we can make, not about who's the best fighter. And when they get into that era, you see, like right now, you see Tank opting out of fighting Roach again and choosing to fight Jake Paul for the money. So these guys nowadays, they don't fight for the fight to food the best no more. They really kind of go out and make their money. And you can't get mad at them about that because that's kind of what Floyd did. He made more money than anybody. So everybody out there now saying, hey, why get beat up like the old guys did and don't make money for it? Let's go out and make this money. So they're not really concerned about who's the best fighter anymore. They're more concerned about now, what's the best situation for me in the long run.
Did you think he had a world title in him, Roy? Did you think when you trained Chris Eubank, he had a world title in him?
Yes, without a question. He definitely had it in him. And if I was training him right now, he still have a world title in him because he knows a lot and he picks up on stuff really, really quick, quicker than anybody I've trained before. So he definitely had a world title in him. Yes.
Roy, we get the rematch November the 15th. The first one was, an absolute barn burner in many ways. Chris's struggles with the weight, Conor Benn jumping up the weights. The weight is still the same, the rehydration clause, etc., all the same. Does that affect any one fighter, mainly Chris Eubank Jr., because of the struggles at 160 now? And how do you see that fight going?
I don't think it really will affect him. I don't think he'll be no worse off than what he was his first time. As a matter of fact, he should be better off because his body's gone down and done it one time. So maybe he'll be better off this time than he was last time. I think we'll get another barn burner. I think, I know we're going to get another barn burner because both guys are going to make adjustments to what they did last time. And both going to come back this time even better than they were last time. So I'm looking for a barn burner for sure.
Roy Jones Jr., great to speak to you. I've news for you, Roy. You're going to enjoy a very nice day of sunshine over in Pensacola in Florida. But the next 6 or 7 days after that, you've got heavy rain. So enjoy it today, Roy, while you can.
I will. As a matter of fact, I might hop on a plane to the UK tomorrow so I can get some more sunshine.
Good breath, mate.
Good man. Well, we're here and we're waiting to welcome you. Roy Jones Jr., thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
What a guy. All the big names. Roy Jones Jr., Spencer Oliver, Simon Jordan. It's incredible, Spence, isn't it?
Jim White.
Oh, what? He really is a true great, is he not? Roy Jones Jr., wonderful.
Indeed.
Spencer, thank you so much. Simon, thanks to you. And thanks to everybody for the last 3 hours. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan. Signing off for the week, Sam Matterface, Alex Crook will be back with you tomorrow from 10. Enjoy. We're coming up to 1 o'clock this Thursday lunchtime.